across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a good evening to you. It is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock, and of course at midnight we have the phone in and it's a full hour of just you and me talking. And I wanted to address the situation with cash that's going on at the moment, because there's an issue with one of the committees, the government committees now, who are suggesting that they should legislate to make sure that businesses take cash. I don't know if it's ever happened to you that you've been in a place where they've said, oh no, sorry, we don't take cash. And it is legal tender, right? I mean, they should be made to take cash. In my view, everywhere should take cash. But how much cash do you use? Are you somebody who will only use cash? Is it easier to budget if you just use cash? I know that families, when they're struggling with budgeting, they're told to put, cash breakdown every day of the cash that you need to spend, only spend that. The problem with having a card or with me on my phone, it is that you don't remember what you've spent, right? It's just numbers. It's not actual money. We're also being advised, or public should be advised, to hoard cash in case of the situation that happened in Spain or similar. Anything could happen, couldn't it? So do you hold a certain amount of cash? Do you only use cash? Have you been to a place where cash has not been accepted? I get really annoyed with this because I went to a shop the other day. I just had my phone and my keys with me, and I went into a shop, and in order to get a trolley I needed a £1 coin. Oh, I don't have a £1 coin. Who has a £1 coin? Does anybody have a hack for that, by the way? Because I don't carry cash, so I'm going in I'm carrying everything in my arms. Like this. So yeah, that really annoys me. So talk me through cash, and do you keep a stack of it? Are you thinking about doing that in case there are some, the Russians hack us or the Chinese hack us or whoever, just so that you've got enough money to get through the day? What do you use cash for? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Does it worry you that it seems that a lot of places now won't accept cash, which I think is I think it should be illegal. I think they should have to accept cash. Anyway, give me a call, 0344 499 1000. So that's coming up at midnight. Before that, and going through the papers, I say going through the papers, it's Claire Muldoon will be here between 11 and 12. Then we're going to space with Andy Lound. Lots to talk about with that. And also we're heading to Los Angeles to get some showbiz and entertainment news from Sandro Manetti. But before that, tomorrow, voters are called to have their say in 23 councils across England. There will also be 6 mayoral elections plus 1 by-election at Runcorn and Helsby, because Mike Amesbury was sacked, if you remember, for punching a constituent when out drunk one night. But anyway, look, these are the first local elections since the general election was held last July. And everybody voting will need ID. 20 types of ID are accepted, including a driving licence and passport. But why is it these elections are being seen as somewhat important? Because normally with council elections, they're quite sort of low level, really. Nobody seems to... But this time, the whole country is paying attention. So why? Well, let's talk to Michael Mosbacher now, who's an associate editor at the Telegraph. Michael, good to speak to you again. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, these have got political reporters and correspondents sort of on trains heading off all round the country today. Why are they being seen as so important?
Basically, it comes down to one thing, which is reform. The idea is that the last election, Labour won a huge majority, but on a relatively small percentage of the votes. So they won 2/3 of seats, but only 34% of the vote. Since then, Labour's vote slumped, and now you've got roughly Reform at 25%, the Labour at 25%, the Tories a bit below that, 22%. 21%, and then the rest of the votes, Lib Dems, Greens, Gather Independents, whatever. So, but basically, why people are so excited about these elections is Reform going to have this huge breakthrough? And if it does have this huge breakthrough, what does that mean? Basically, if the huge breakthrough happens, the idea that Nigel Farage could become Prime Minister becomes a reality. Suddenly it'll be taken seriously. In 3 or 4 years' time, when the next general election happens, it's possible that Reform will be the largest party and Farage is heading for number 10. If Reform underperforms, the opposite narrative goes. Right. It'll all be seen as too much hype and excessive hype, and had it all been overblown? And that's why these elections and the by-election in Runcorn are getting quite as much attention as they are.
I mean, it's also, isn't it? It will be seen as a poll, if you like, on Labour, on Keir Starmer's performance so far. Also a poll on Kemi Badenoch. This is the first time she'll be tested, although not really being tested, because these are council elections. But still, this people will go to the polls, won't they, with an idea in their minds. Of course, we won't at this stage try and imagine what that might be, because that would be against Purdah rules. But still, people will be going thinking of the main Parliament and the performances there.
They will, exactly, completely. And it's inevitable that this result will be bad for the Tories. Why? Because when these elections last happened in 2021, the Tories were at their height. I mean, they were polling at 43, 44%. Now they're polling at 22%. And lots of these areas have been heavily Tory, so their support will inevitably fall. Labour have had a torrid time of it since Starmer's had a pretty awful start of his prime ministership, certainly a terrible start for the first from July to the end of the year. So they'll be hit. I mean, they're down 10% from the election. All the other bits and bobs going to do well, the Lib Dems, the Greens, various independents. We've already mentioned Reform. But the big story of the night will undoubtedly be that will be both Reform, the Tories losing out from their previous high, and then the areas where the election's happening happen to be not particularly strong Labour areas. So the way Labour will run it is saying we never expected to do very well, but they'll also be doing badly, likely to lose some of the mayoralties, and that'll be the big issue for them.
This, as you were saying a moment ago, that this is a real test for Reform, but more than that, it will turn our voting system into no longer a two-horse race, right? It's you know, I was sort of Liberals, but we know they're leaving the stalls a lot later. But this could be a five-party system.
I'm a supporter of the British electoral system, first past the post. But if you do have fragmented politics and five-party results, you can start having very peculiar results happening, because you can win a ward or win a constituency in a general election on 25, 26% of the vote. So and that starts becoming very, very unpredictable. So if we really are moving to 4 or 5 party politics, Britain's politics will become a lot less predictable. Results will be more unfair, because one party's just going to sneak home with a lot of seats on a low percentage of the votes, and it does create a much more chaotic conditions.
Could we see more coalitions?
Inevitably, you'd see more coalitions with that happening. And if the Reform breakthrough does happen, there'd be lots of pressure on how should the Tories coalesce with Reform? How there'll be all the talk of unite the right. How do the Tories work best with Reform? Ironically, if Reform does exceedingly well, it makes it more difficult, because it's very hard to imagine the Tories being a junior partner to Reform. But I mean, why would Farage agree to anything else if he feels he's riding high?
Could this be for Kemi Badenoch? Like we're saying, this will be seen as a comment, really, on whether she wants it to be or not, on her performance so far. Could we start to see the Tories yet again be vying for the top seat, generic, cleverly?
I think it's possible. I think it'd be mad for them to do so. They've had so many changes of leadership. Kemi Badenoch's been in for less than a year, 9 months, or even less than that, 6 or 7 months. So it looked like changing ship again. But I think they'll naturally be if the results are bad enough, they'll be disquiet. There'll be one or two backbenchers sort of openly saying, "We made a mistake last time. Let's see what happens." The manoeuvring will begin again. You're right.
When you look at these local council elections, I mean, these aren't even for the seats except for Runcorn, and I want to steer clear of that if you don't mind. But you know, these are considered, you know, very, very, very local. Okay, do people tend to take more risks, do you think, with a vote like that? Are they prepared to sort of try something new, or do they go, well, do you know what, this lot have been good for us running the council, so we'll stick with them?
I think most people tend to see local elections as referendums on the national picture.
Okay.
Turnout is lower, so that means two things. It both, in one way, the disadvantage for reform, because the sort of people who vote reform traditionally are the people who sort of work the white working class, who traditionally got a fairly low turnout. But on the other hand, their voters are much more motivated.
Yeah.
So it's pulled in both directions. So they might also actually go out there and vote, and because they're so angry and so annoyed with the system and think this is our chance to shake it up.
So again, the referendum like Brexit was, in a way.
In a way, yeah.
So okay, we're looking at these 23 councils. It's supposed to be a beautiful day tomorrow. It's supposed, you know, like we said, these are council seats. They're not for local MPs, and the motivation may well not be there. What does that say, though, about the state of national politics? In terms of, what I mean is, are people just so disillusioned that they just think, well, it doesn't matter who I vote for, they're all going to be rubbish?
I think there's a lot to that. I think the enthusiasm, clearly, for the two main parties, there's very little enthusiasm. There are people who've been energised by reform. There are people who've been energised by the Greens, by various what I'd regard as unsavoury pro-Garda independents, but the people clearly have been energised by those sort of movements outside the mainstream. But no enthusiasm for Starmer, no enthusiasm for Kemi Badenoch, and I mean that's going to be shown, I think, tomorrow night, quite clearly. What
position could this put Keir Starmer in if he doesn't return with a good few seats?
Yeah, it'll be more the mayoralties, losing the mayoralties. Yeah. It caused Labour MPs to start to panic about certain issues, particularly MPs in the sort of red wall areas. The two areas, one's immigration. That's obviously the big one. We need to do more on immigration. That's the only way we'll get the reform voters back. The other issue they'll start panicking on is net zero, because if you look at other countries, populist parties have done very well on heat pumps and all those sort of issues, and that'll start having some resonance. Ed Miliband is expect more backtracking on net zero, because as Labour MPs come back to London, sort of panics and think, if we continue with this policy, we're going to be wiped out in 4 years' time.
What is, in your view, the current state of British politics, and what fear do you have in that case for democracy? Because if we start to get these wins like we saw with Labour, with 34% less than of the population, but an enormous amount of seats, and they therefore they go, we've got a mandate to do everything we want to do. Not really, but what does it mean for the democratic system going forward? I find it really worrying.
Clearly, a lot of people are losing faith in it. And on top of that, the British electoral system is not well equipped for multi-party politics. With two-party politics, the results are broadly fair. Once support's fractured in so many directions, it starts throwing up bizarre outcomes. Probably in some ways, this era is the closest you can compare it to is the early 1980s, with the breakthrough of the SDP, where there's all this talk of breaking the mould of British politics. The SDP wasn't polling at some stage at 25%, it was polling at over 50%. People thought the old parties might be swept away, and on that time, things went back to normal. But I think there's much more back to the old two-party norm, Labour and Tory. But I suspect there was more trust in politics back then than now. There's much more disillusionment now. So whether things will return to normal, I'm much more sceptical.
Well, one party we haven't mentioned, but they did give the Tories a bloody nose in the general election. That's the Lib Dems, and Ed Davey. I mean, we know that he plays the clown. He's constantly on fairground rides or whatever else. But he is liked.
He is definitely liked, and that's a more traditional protest. The Lib Dems tend to do much better in local elections than in general elections. Their percentage votes are higher, and they will do fairly well tomorrow. I mean, that's inevitable. They always do well in local elections. This is the sort of area where they can challenge the Tories. And there's also the fact that, as I said, the Tories were polling at 42, 43, 44% 4 years ago in these areas. Now 22, 21, 23%. With their fall in support, even if the Lib Dems don't go up much, they'll still gain lots of council seats, just inevitably because the Tory votes fallen so steeply. So they'll have a fairly good night, I'm fairly sure.
So these elections that are taking place tomorrow, they really will give a roadmap, you think, to the future of British politics?
And in some way, they're probably the most important local elections for a generation, because they'll go one of two ways. They'll either sort of signpost the narrative being for the next few years, reform's the challenge, what's going to happen with reform, is Farage going to end up in Downing Street, or they'll be, well, that's all been overhyped. Let's regroup. It doesn't look like a breakthrough is happening. Remember, reform in recent years has usually not. I don't mean reform so much. I mean Farage's various vehicles, UKIP, then the Brexit Party, then reform. Their polling. They usually haven't reached as high as their polling. They've been flattered by their polling numbers compared to when actual votes are cast, and that's their big test for them. Can they actually get their vote out tomorrow? Which historically they haven't been able to. What they've managed to do this time, which they haven't managed to do in the past, is put up candidates absolutely everywhere. So they're standing in more seats than anyone else, 2,000 something council candidates. If they do very well, that again will have its test. If you suddenly from nowhere need to rustle up 2,000 candidates, presumably a fair number, I don't know, a fair number, but some of them are bound to be eccentrics, nutters. If they do very well, inevitably some stories will start coming out about oddbods who've been elected to councils.
And even potentially to mayoral positions.
And potentially to mayoral positions, precisely, yeah.
Just finally, if I can, what if the turnout is particularly thin? What does that tell all parties? Does that say anything to them?
It does. Disillusionment in politics, and there'll be differential turnout. Is turnout across the board bad, or do the Greens, the pro-Garda independents, the Reform managed to galvanise their base and get them out, which will obviously further accentuate the nature of the results and the sort of populist breakthrough. So those are the questions we should really be looking out for tomorrow.
But again, I said finally, didn't I? But just one more question. I always got one more question. These one-issue parties that we're starting to see come forward, or appear to be just one-issue parties, like you were mentioning there, the Islamist parties that are rising, and people really voting just on one issue, not on politics, it would seem, not on policies even, but on an issue. Will we start to see more of that, do you think?
I think that's possible, though they're obviously quite often ethnically based, and lots of the areas which are voting tomorrow are sort of rural Britain. But I think there's certainly plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of disillusionment with Labour. What they've lost in a great way was Labour used to be the Muslim vote used to be overwhelmingly Labour, and that's much less true now as they've got disillusioned with the party, and that leads to all sorts of opportunities for political entrepreneurs, however tasteless we may find them, who try to find their niche in these sort of areas. It's not a happy sign. I mean, sectarianisation of British politics is very much not something to be welcomed, but there seem to be warning signs of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Michael, thank you very much indeed. It's always a pleasure. Michael Mosbacher there, who is Associate Editor at The Telegraph. Quick break, back in a sec.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, good evening. This is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up at midnight is the phoner, and I want to talk to you about cash, about the good folding stuff, although it doesn't fold anymore. It's a great disappointment to me. It bounces now. You can't fold a note like you used to, can you? It's just rubbish now because they put all that plastic in it and stuff. I don't know what they put in it. But anyway, the folding stuff, as it used to be called. Do you keep a little hoard of cash in your house? Do you keep it for a particular reason? Is it just your backup money? Because we're being told is the public should be urged to hoard cash in case of cyber attacks and blackouts. You look and see what's happened across Spain, Portugal and parts of France. You know, if you haven't got any cash, I think you'd probably be in a world of pain. So the Treasury Select Committee has mooted the drastic advice it warned over the growing shift away from coins and banknotes. MPs are also suggesting that it might be time to force businesses to accept hard currency to stop the UK sleepwalking into becoming a cashless society. I don't think we want to be a cashless society, says the woman who very rarely has any cash on her. But if I couldn't use it at times, if I was told that it was no longer available to me, I'd be absolutely furious, because I think it's our choice, isn't it? And a lot of people rely on having cash to monitor their spending. Like, you know, maybe take out a tenner for the day, and once you spent it, it's gone. Whereas if you've got a card or you've got other forms of payment, you just don't really notice it, not as much. You don't think about it as much, I think, as you do with cash. So do you keep cash? And what do you keep cash for? Is it rainy day money? Now, the people who most use cash are domestic abuse victims and the elderly and the poorer in society. And for those reasons, I guess it's probably easier to take the cash out for the week and just spend that money, and so you don't run the risk of going into debt. It is vital for domestic abuse victims, and people don't think about this as much as they probably should, because that's escape money. That's potentially just, tucking away a couple of coins here, a couple of pounds there, and a fiver there, and a tenner there. That's what that is all about. It's just being able to sort of get some escape money together, and you could never do that. Often in domestic abuse situations, there is a control issue, and the control will normally surround cash and money, and giving the woman or the man who's being domestically abused the enough money to get the shopping, but no more, because there isn't any trust in the relationship, things like that. So it's important, I think, that we keep hold of our cash. And many countries across Europe have protected cash in businesses for that reason, that it's just important that that people should be allowed to spend cash when they go into a shop. But when was the last time you tried to use cash in a shop or a business and were refused? I generally leave the house with my phone and my keys, and that's it. I don't take a bag. I don't have anything with me. So when I get to a supermarket and want a trolley, I haven't got a quid. What am I supposed to do with this? How do I make that happen? It just seems a bit stupid that everything else is sort of, you can pay with your card or whatever, but you can't get a trolley. So I wish they'd do something about that, because it's particularly annoying. And actually it means that I don't spend as much money in your shop. So, so just give me a call later and let's discuss cash, how important you think it is to our privacy, as well to our security, and if you're spending cash, no one can track it, right? No one knows what you're spending your cash on, and I think that's why governments don't like it. Because they like to have their nose in our business. They like to know exactly what we're spending our money on, and they like to have that sort of control where they could potentially switch your money off if you don't agree with them or don't behave in a certain way, as we saw happening in certain countries during COVID. So it is, to me, it's the last sort of protection of that privacy. And I don't want to lose it. But do you think that we will? Are we in danger of that happening? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you on this. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at national rate, but not in cash. You don't have to front up with any monies, cash. And you can text the word talk and your message to 87222. Give me a call.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, and a good evening to you. It is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock. And coming up, don't forget, is Claire Muldoon. She will be here to go through the papers at 11 o'clock. But right now, we're heading off to Los Angeles to have a chat with Sandro Monetti, journalist, author and producer. Sandro, how are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm ready to talk classic movies. I've said to you before, Petrie, there's a real power in nostalgia, and there's some great films celebrating their anniversaries this year, starting with Back to the Future. It's 40 years ago since that came out.
No.
I know.
Oh,
I
my
know.
God, that's so
Right?
depressing.
But you would think that in this sort of modern age of squeezing as much money as you can get out of all these established franchises, you know, they'd be ready to announce Back to the Future 4, Back to the Future 5, you know, sequels, maybe some prequels. No. Bob Gale, who wrote the original movie, together with Robert Zemeckis, who directed it, has said, no, there won't be any more Back to the Future on screen, ever. They say it's fine. It's pretty much close to perfect as it is. So leave it alone. We don't care how much money you throw at us. We've got loads already. No more Back to the Future. It has been a stage musical, but nothing more on screen. What do you make of that?
I think that's good. I think just keeping flogging a dead horse doesn't make it come back to life. I really do. I think that, you know, you've got situations like, I don't know, it just flashed through my mind. I've forgotten it now. But even with Ted Lasso, they're coming back with one more series, and I'm like, oh, don't, because it was so perfect the way it was. Don't. I love it, and I would give anything for that series to have gone on forever. But I don't want it to come, you know. I think Ghostbusters, that's what I was going to say. Ghostbusters was brilliant. In its day, it was just fantastic. And I think they just as every other day, there seems to be a new Ghostbusters out. And it's not better for it.
Some great points there. I mean, when Ted Lasso was created, it was always designed to be short. Jason Sudeikis, the star and co-creator, always had his model in mind of Fawlty Towers, which was just 12 episodes,
exactly.
You know, that could live forever. But they found a reason to do the new series. I've been working on something with one of the directors on it, Declan Lowney, who tells me that Series 4 is going to see Ted managing the women's team of Richmond. So that'll take the show in a different direction. It will be coming back. We will see. But Back to the Future is a franchise much like Ghostbusters, where you could continue the journey of the McFly family, for example. You could keep it going forever. But no, they have taken pretty much your opinion. Let's leave it where it is for future generations to discover. The same has been done with E.T., by the way. Steven Spielberg has had so much money thrown at him to do an E.T. 2 or an E.T. prequel. He's like, no, that movie should just stay as it is. And let's look at another Spielberg movie, Jaws. He had nothing to do with the sequel. And let's not forget how bad the Jaws sequels were, especially Jaws 4: The Revenge with Michael Caine, of which he fabulously said, I never saw the movie, but I did see the house it paid for, and it was bloody fantastic.
Well, yeah, quite. No, I think some things you just leave them alone, and they are brilliant because they are what they are, and they don't need explaining, and they don't need don't need any more than that, and it just becomes a cash cow, and I think that waters everything. It waters it down, and then you lose that love of something. I mean, Ghostbusters, I can't be bothered with it now.
Well, talking of cash cows, let's talk Star Wars, because it's the 20th anniversary of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And so that has been re-released around the world. It's been a surprisingly big hit. It's number 2 at the box office. I went to see it the other day, and actually I owe George Lucas an apology, because when it came out 20 years ago, I declared it an absolute load of rubbish and a waste of time. But now I see it through fresh eyes and realize that it's a brilliant space epic. So, yes.
But it's just a re-release. There's nothing extra to it.
Well, there is if you go and see it in the cinemas, Hayden Christensen, who plays Darth Vader in it, has recorded a special intro for it. But it's it's a restaurant. It's got all the modern sort of bells and whistles, but there are no new scenes or anything like that. It's just released on IMAX screens, so it sort of looks spectacular for those of you who've mainly only seen it on a computer screen, a mobile or a TV screen over the years. It really has the scale and scope, but it just shows that, I mean, the fact that it was able to take over $25 million in its opening weekend, at a time when cinema is dying, there is still clearly audiences who want to see, especially on the IMAX screens, which are the ones that are taking all the money these days, these really big sort of classic films. So it's back. So maybe Back to the Future, maybe instead of making a sequel, maybe they should just re-release it in IMAX, and let people enjoy it again that way.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be Michael J. Fox, isn't it? I don't think it could be anybody else. So I mean, simple as that. Talking of restored or re-released versions of films, the Cannes Film Festival is already upon us in 2 weeks' time. I can't believe that's come around so quickly. And they're showing a premiere there, a world premiere of a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Well, yes. I mean, talking about sort of restorations, it is the 100th anniversary of Charlie Chaplin's City Lights, the film which made the Little Tramp such an iconic figure. And there's lots of speculation about what's going to get the big premiere slots at Cannes. And yes, it's opening with a 4K restoration of this Charlie Chaplin film. And so, there's an opportunity here for new generations to discover the genius of the British icon, because it's premiering at Cannes, but then in 70 countries around the world, there will be big cinema releases of this Charlie Chaplin film. And if you've never seen a Charlie Chaplin film, this is your opportunity to do so. So suddenly, everything old was new again. I'm not quite sure what this is all about, whether there's just a craving for nostalgia or whether modern movies are rubbish, so we've decided to re-release everything that we liked before. But, there was a danger, of certain icons being forgotten. But in this 100th anniversary year, Charlie Chaplin is back.
Yeah, I mean, those films weren't particularly long, were they? These City Limits and The Dictator and all of those.
Which is great, because I believe that no movie should be longer than 80 minutes, quite frankly. So
I agree. This thing about 3 or 4 hours, it's like, oh, for goodness sake.
Yes,
sometimes things are not better because there's more of it. It's just not the same. Let's talk now about Elizabeth Hurley and Billy Ray Cyrus, for some reason, this has become a real big story. I don't know why, though. Who cares?
I love it. I love it. It's just one of the
Do you love
celebrity
love?
romances
I mean, I'm just
really
a bitter
trying
old.
into. I think it's great. The whole story of it. I mean, I've been following it like a real life soap opera. I mean, on Monday night they said a tearful goodbye at Nashville Airport because Liz has been spending the last couple of weeks on Billy Ray's farm, and she's even dressing country now. She's wearing the suede jacket and the suede boots. We normally only see her in a bikini, but there she is, on the farm and loving it and saying a tearful goodbye. Hopefully they'll be reunited very soon because Liz Hurley's 60th birthday is coming up in a couple of weeks. Will Billy Ray be there, to help her blow out the candles? I hope so, because, these are two pop culture figures, and now they've come together. They've found each other. If you don't know the history, they made a Christmas movie 3 years ago set in the Caribbean. Only had one scene together. Then he was feeling a bit down after his latest divorce, posted some sort of sad message on Instagram. She slid into his DMs and said, if you ever want anyone to talk to, I'm here. And next thing you know, she was off to Nashville in a cowboy hat.
Well, there you go. Modern day romances, yeah.
They say love is dead. No, it's not. His achy breaky heart is mended, and of all people, by Elizabeth Hurley. Good for her, good for them. Can't wait for the wedding.
You think it'll go that far?
I hope so. Yes.
I honestly, these showbiz relationships, I mean, I just don't buy them most of the time, and it's like, so what? Anyway, I'm sure that people love, and that's good for them, as you said. Mickey Rourke, now he used to be a hell of a good-looking chap, and is unfortunately has potentially had too much work done. And we saw him being booted out of Celebrity Big Brother because of his terrible behaviour. What's all this about?
Well, they should have known what they were going to get, especially if they'd read my new book, Mickey Rourke, Wrestling with Demons, the biography. Now, if you want to understand the origin of the bad behaviours that caused him to get the hook by ITV, then read this, because it's got all the classic tropes of showbiz biography, from sort of a nightmare childhood to roller coaster relationships, self-sacrifice, personal tragedies, terrible decisions, and all of it. And Mickey, yes, he has his critics, but he admits that his greatest downfall has been caused by himself. And I remember when we were discussing this book, he said, just be honest. Don't try and make me look great. I know I've made some mistakes, and it's good that he owns up to them. But yes, he just lasted a few days in Celebrity Big Brother. But for those of us who love reality TV, the memory of that appearance will last a lifetime.
Did you watched him? Did you see his behaviour?
Oh, I did. Yes, none of it took me by surprise.
Really?
But I'm actually surprised he actually turned up in the first place. But he did actually get in there, and didn't he sleep 16 hours on the first day or something? Well, jet lag can be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think the question now is whether he gets to keep the big fat paycheck he would have got for
I mean, he would have got $500,000 was the original deal, and then they reportedly tried to compromise back down to 50,000 because he didn't last too long. But he didn't get voted out by the public when they had the chance to kick him out. So there's a few interesting lawsuits to watch this year. There's the P. Diddy trial. There's the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni one. But the one I'll be keeping my eyes on is Mickey Rourke versus Celebrity Big Brother. It's all going to help the sales.
It's all going to help. Sandro, thank you very much indeed. Sandro Monetti, journalist, author and producer. Right, stay where you are. We're heading into space next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock, and coming up at 11 o'clock. Top of the hour. We have Claire Muldoon. She will be here in the studio to take us through, in a clearly, obviously, very sensible and grown-up manner, what's happening on the papers for tomorrow. So make sure you don't miss Muldoon. But first, we are heading to space, and my favourite spaceman, Andy Lound, joins us now. Andy, oh, you're looking very smart today. Where are you?
Oh, thank you. This is Mars behind me. I've got my new space jacket on now.
That's very smart. That is something. Where do you even find something like that?
Oh, I found that. Yes, I was so pleased about it. And it was cheap as chips as well, which made it more fantastic.
Makes it even better.
Probably because not many people want to buy it.
I can't imagine anything suiting you more, Andy. I really can't. Let's talk about China launching astronauts. I mean, China really seem to be stepping up their space effort, don't they?
They do indeed. Shenzhou 20 was launched. 3 taikonauts were sent to their space station, a swap over for a 6-month duration, and they replaced 3 taikonauts who came back yesterday, who landed safely.
Can you just explain taikonaut to me? Not heard
it's
that.
Their term for astronaut.
Oh, okay. It's just what the Chinese
the Russians have cosmonauts. We have astronauts, and the Chinese generally say taikonauts. And to be polite to them, we use their term.
Oh, that's very interesting. Sorry, I interrupted there. I just wanted to know.
That's okay.
Carry on.
Yes, their commander Chen Dong. This is his 3rd trip into space. Very experienced taikonaut, and he's gone up there with 2 rookies, and they're going to do 6 months of research up onto the space station, permanently manned, permanently crewed, I should say, space station, which has been up there now for several years. It's a decade now, and they're intending to expand the space station as well, so they intend to make it larger. And this is their long-term development program for eventually putting taikonauts on the moon. So China to land on the moon with human beings. In theory, they want to do it before 2030, so they're doing it within 5 years. We haven't seen any of their technology yet that they're going to land with. Where in the West, of course, we're seeing ours. They've got little bits, but nothing too spectacular. So it'll be interesting to see if that deadline is going to be there. They're claiming, which is very interesting, it's not a race. They said we're not trying to beat the Americans back to the moon. Americans, of course, have already been there, so that was as simple as that. But they said this is about international research and progress into space, and that's what the official line is going to be from them. And they do share their information, of course. They're doing material science on the space station, which is really important work, and they do share that and publish papers internationally. So it is quite interesting to see China is constantly pushing ahead, as long as their economy holds. Nations can only do this as long as your economy can stay stable with it, and economic issues on Earth at the moment may put a bit of a slight hampering on that. But having said that, I think they are going to probably have Chinese footprints on the surface of the moon before 2030. I can't see why they wouldn't be able to do
No,
it.
exactly. But was I reading the other day, Andy, that China's been talking about putting a nuclear power station on the moon?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Britain is as well. Britain is part of the Artemis program, and Rolls-Royce are developing small nuclear power stations that can go onto the moon as well to help with Artemis. China doing exactly the same sort of technology. China have nuclear-powered submarines, and it's the power plants that are used in the submarines. It's a variation of that which they're looking at putting onto the moon for powering the base and things like that. So yes, it's quite a normal process for them to do it, and of course it's much safer radiation-wise because prevent radiation away quite easily, much more easily than you can do here on the Earth.
And have they already tested that, or is that just a theoretical?
They're testing their equipment down here on Earth. It's yet to be tested. None of these stations have ever been tested in a weightless environment in space itself, and that's going to be one of the big issues to be done. I think initially when they get to the moon, it'll be very similar to the Apollo days, where they will land on the moon, scratch around in the dirt for a little bit, then come back, and then slowly build up a space station. So I think it'll be well into the 2030s before we see human habitation on the moon really taking a foothold.
Wow. I mean, but that's coming around quickly, right? I mean, that's not that far away.
No, it isn't. The development program's been faster than HS2, so that's quite fantastic. And probably cheaper as well.
I think tortoises are faster than HS2, aren't they? But China's reputation for sharing information, though, when it comes to the space program, they're pretty good, are they? Because there's always this fear, isn't there, that they're trying to steal data or hack or something. But when it comes to space, that rises above that, does it?
For scientific data, yes. Technology might be slightly a different vein. Right. But certainly the scientific data that they come back, they do share that, and they want to share other people's as well. I mean, bearing in mind, if you ended up out in outer Mongolia, you'll find lots of American, British and European scientists working with Chinese scientists digging up fossils. So there is a lot of cooperation going on in the academic world, in the academic senses, because academic people haven't really much time for all this political nonsense. It's the science is more important.
Yeah, of course, I completely agree. I wish they thought that about everything. Alien life.
Yes, this is really cool, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The possibility. About 18 months ago, the Webb telescope detected chemical signatures from the atmosphere of K2 18b. Great exciting name for an exoplanet, planet going around another star. The chemical signatures, I've got to get this chemical right here because I always have a bit of fun trying to get the chemical names right and things like that. But the chemical they've detected is a material that's normally produced by microorganisms on the Earth, and this is the key to it. Usually produced by phytoplankton. It's DMS is the short term for it, dimethyl sulfide. Now, the interesting thing about this chemical is only produced on the Earth from microorganisms such as phytoplankton in the ocean. There is no other non-biological source that produces it on Earth, and this is what caused the excitement. But when they made the discovery, they said we need to really think about this carefully, so give us some time and we'll do some more analysis. So scientists have been working hard for 18 months. Cambridge University scientists published some papers pointing out now that they're 99.7% certain that this chemical is in the atmosphere of this planet and therefore could only be produced, as they know so far, by biological processes. That's still 2 steps away from being absolutely proof positive, because the interesting thing is the quantities in relation to the atmosphere of this planet, which has a hydrogen atmosphere. And you know I love my hydrogen. It's a hydrogen atmosphere with an ocean. And if the chemical signatures are bang on, it would mean that the ocean on this planet is absolutely teeming with microorganisms producing this material. And what they're doing now on Earth is working in the laboratories to see if there's any system where non-biological processes can produce this chemical, and that's the big program they're working on at the moment. Because as I said, it is an alien planet. It's different to the Earth's. It may have an ocean down there, but it's not a nitrogen atmosphere. It's a hydrogen atmosphere, which means it's a very different animal altogether. So they need to check whether or not this is possible. It's very interesting to think that prior to the discovery of this, papers were written that life is likely to arise in an ocean in a hydrogen dense atmosphere, and then lo and behold, funny enough, when they looked at one, they actually did find this signature. So there is a great deal of possibility that you have marine microbes existing in an ocean on a planet that's about 124 light years away. If it does turn out to be right, this could be the most staggering discovery in the history of science, to find life has evolved on another world out there somewhere. It is
and not that far away.
No, relatively speaking, it's quite close, 124 light years. Yes, it's relatively close. It's in what you might call a local group of stars that actually formed. It's a very different type of star as well, of course. It's very different to the Earth. But the planet itself is interesting because the planet orbits much closer in. I think it takes about 33 days to orbit the parent planet, right, as we take 365 and a quarter. But because the sun doesn't give their sun doesn't give out as much heat, it's actually in a zone where liquid water can exist on the surface. That's the key, because if you get liquid water on the surface of a planet, the temperatures are right for carbon chemistry to take place. And life, how to define life? Life is carbon chemistry, complicated carbon chemistry, but nonetheless, you need that for life to exist at all, as we know it. And so therefore, the odds are now stacking up in favour of this, but there's a lot more work to do yet. And even the scientists who've made discoveries and doing the analysis are being very cautious. But it is quite an astounding possibility that we could be looking at one of the most incredible discoveries in history. the possibility that, and how it's been discovered is staggering as well, using a telescope, looking at the atmosphere of a planet 125 light years away. That in itself is a fantastic piece of research. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling and breathtaking. And when it was an embargo thing that came through, and I was tipped off about the embargo just to have a quick look at it, and I read it. I thought, wow, this is absolutely breathtaking. I can't wait for the announcement to be made. And everybody was chasing around then, talking about it, looking at it, and it was incredibly exciting to think that's a possibility. But we have to try to understand and define what life is. Life is defined as something that, of course, can consume material and then give out material. So like we eat and then we exhale our gases and we defecate, so we give out material as well. That's an important part. And we reproduce. That's a very narrow description, because you could define fire as doing exactly the same thing. And that is a real problem. None of us would consider fire to be a living thing. So that is one of the problems we have, is what our definition is. And we can only carry out experiments looking for life on something we know happens. And that's a real problem. You can't actually carry out an experiment to find something that you don't know can happen. And that is a real problem when we're trying to define something. The problem with Viking landers 1 and 2 dropped onto Mars, the experiments there suggested there was life on Mars. Then some other experiments said, no, they're not, there isn't. And now we feel that, the experiment itself may have actually destroyed any microorganisms that we experimented on. So again, it's designing an instrumentation to actually do it is really, really, really hard. It is really difficult unless you physically can go there, physically pick up a sample and stick it under a microscope, which is why there's a big push, of course, to bring samples back from Mars, why there's a big push to send humans there, where you can send a scientist there with lots of kit who can do the work. To be honest, that's really the only way you're going to find that out on Mars, or perhaps Europa. But for this one is a little bit more subtle.
And could it be more than microorganisms? No. So it would definitely be at the micro level.
We're looking at microbe level here. I think we can't anticipate large-scale organisms surviving in an atmosphere which would be a hydrogen atmosphere. We have a nitrous oxide atmosphere, lots of nitrogen, lots of oxygen in the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, and the chemical balance here is really important, because the organisms that first developed onto the Earth desperately needed carbon, so they took in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, breathed out O2. The O2 then slowly permeated into the atmosphere and allowed organisms that needed the O2, such as us, to actually move and walk around. Organisms, for instance, that use carbon for their bases, like plants, for instance, don't tend to move around a lot. They haven't the energy. But organisms that use oxygen do move around a lot, because that's the power source. So you can actually work out from the chemistry what type of organisms probably exist on a world. And with this one, we would be looking at microorganisms in an ocean.
Would we be able to recreate the conditions here on Earth and see what microorganisms are produced?
Yes. That's the experiments they're carrying out at the moment to see what happened. It's interesting at Porton Down and many other, I think 2 other places on the Earth, they actually did some engineering, biological engineering, to see if they could create a cell with the minimum amount of genetic material that could actually reproduce, and they actually were able to do it.
Wow.
So technically speaking, we created a life form by doing that. It was then exterminated, but they actually proved the point that how much genetic material is the minimum requirement for an organism to function. And that could easily happen in the natural world. And that's a very exciting possibility indeed.
And that could happen in a hydrogen-based atmosphere?
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. The fact that hydrogen is there, the fact is you've got the ocean there. That's the key there. It's a liquid ocean where you could have carbon chemistry taking place. It's surrounded by a hydrogen atmosphere, which in itself, there are organisms on the Earth, for instance, which take in hydrogen, which use hydrogen. And that's quite interesting, because if you had organisms that took in hydrogen, for instance, and used that, and for instance, then release other materials, then slow it, which we're seeing this chemical being released, you could see its atmosphere changing over millions of years, which would change the atmosphere, then lead to the evolution of other organisms in the same way we did. But it would be a very different evolution to our planet, very different.
Yeah,
indeed.
of course. But you said liquid ocean, because we're not saying it's water.
Yes, we're saying it's water. Yes,
we are saying it is actually water, as we would know it.
It's an H2O ocean. Yes,
it's an H2O ocean.
Yeah, it's a H2O ocean, which makes sense because the atmosphere is hydrogen, so H2O makes sense to be there. And so it's quite an exciting possibility. And that's why the temperature of the planet becomes very, very important indeed, because where you've got liquid water, you've got the medium for carbon chemistry to take place, and that is the critical element that as we know for carbon chemistry, for carbon life forms. I mean, if you're talking about silicon-based life forms, we've never ever found it. We've actually found something quite interesting regarding silicon life form. A silicon carbon hybrid has been created in a laboratory which functions.
I mean, listen, Andy, there's so much. We're going to have to talk about other life forms again. I love that. Thank you very much indeed, Andy Lowndes there. Just a little bit of breaking news. The US Treasury has announced it has signed a minerals deal with Ukraine and agreed to establish a US-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. Coming up, the papers with Muldoon.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it's Petrie here. It's good to have your company, and with me is the Muldoon.
Yes.
Is the Claire Muldoon.
Indeed.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while. You're looking fabulous.
Thank you.
Love the frock.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
nice. Very, very nice. Very pretty. Right, before we get into the papers, what do you think of cash?
I brought that up actually for after our front thingies. I think it's ridiculous that shops are refusing to take cash.
Yeah.
And I think it should be legislated that they really, if people want to pay with cash,
It's
then
legal
they have
tender,
to be.
right?
Of course it is. That's like the time when they still have Scottish money. If you would produce a Scottish note anywhere down here, people would look it up as if it's, as if you've just walked it off the street. And I'm like, well, and it's the only term you'll hear the words uttered in, pejoratively almost. It's legal tender.
Yeah, you have to take it.
There'll be a murder if you didn't. That's nonsense. I mean, come on.
It is crazy, though, that a lot of places are refusing cash now, apparently. A lot of shops.
Buskers as well.
Buskers are refusing cash.
Buskers have got their own tab. And I'm like, tap off. You know, I think it's just awful. And the other, do you know the other interesting thing? I've always believed, right, if you have a tenner, right, say for instance, and you give that tenner to pay for something, either a good or a service, that tenner is still worth a tenner. And that person can use the tenner for another good or service, still maintaining the tenner.
Yeah.
However, when you tap and go, these American bank companies, Visa, Amex, there are others available, they take a commission, a cut of that said tenner.
Yeah.
So by the time it's gone to person 5 or 6, that tenner's not worth a tenner anymore.
Yeah, because a lot of shops will refuse to take certain credit cards, won't they, because of those charges.
Fair enough.
But do you use cash? I mean, I don't want to lose cash, but I don't really use it.
I don't use it as much as I did. And I also, when I first got married, I always thought, you know, to budget, be a housewife, everything else, you know, because I had children very quickly. Use the cash, because then you know what you've got.
Yeah.
Right, and it was much easier. And you didn't have tap and go, you didn't have Apple Pay then either. It was chip and pin. So I always believe it from a budgeting point of view, it's much easier if you actually know what you've got and then you can work from that. I think it's so... We're too quick often in this day and age, especially after a few, to think, well, especially online shopping, you know, well, yeah, I really want that, want that, want that. Commodity and consumerism is so cheap at the moment in terms of cheap fashion, that's what I'm talking about, not in terms of cost of living. And it's just too easy just to go on and think, and to add to the basket. And before you know it, the basket's overflowing that you could never actually carry in a shop. You'd be like that. Yeah. You don't need to...
And you would never have bought that much in a shop.
You don't need to go and try things on anymore because it's so cheap to get it shipped, and then you can always have free returns.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I can see why cash has been removed from society, but there's nothing like, you know, tipping someone for a service or something like that.
In cash.
And I would far rather they use it in cash. When you go to a pub or wherever and you stand and you get a round of drinks, how nice is it to be able to say to the person who's more often than not a student, here, just keep the change. Get one for yourself.
Yeah. I know, and that has all gone, hasn't it? That sense of like you said, just keep the change or whatever it is. But it's I don't use it enough for me to be this protective of it. But I
don't think anyone is, and yet it's still a concept that we're emotionally invested in.
But it's also privacy, and it's also security.
Well, there's no tracking on it, is there?
Exactly. But also there's another suggestion that now the British public should be urged to hoard cash in case there are cyber attacks and blackouts. Now, we're more vulnerable today than we've ever been because everything's online and everything's in the cloud and everything. I don't understand it, but anyway, it's all over there somewhere. So we are more susceptible and more vulnerable. So we're now being encouraged, I think quite sensibly, to keep... I mean, when they say hoard cash, I expect they don't mean, you know, well, nobody's
Well, the analogy and the image that comes to mind is
a
like
massive pile of cash
underneath your mattress.
Yeah, but I suspect, I mean, if all of us had, you know, 100 quid or a couple of £100 in cash somewhere in the house, that would probably be enough to get us through 3 or 4 days of a cyber attack. Right?
But it's not, even when the kids come home, it's always nice just to say, like, here, just take a tenner or here's a 20 quid, you know, get some pints for the lads in the pub, Tom, or, you know, and it's just, I just feel better with a bit of cash.
Yeah. Do you go out with cash though? Do you carry?
I do.
Are you like the Queen? I'm not the Queen. I don't carry cash.
I do. You
do?
I do.
Lend us a tenner.
No.
Oh, all right. 20?
No.
Oh, just asking. No, I think that it really worries me, the drive to get rid of cash. And I agree with you that it should be legislated, it should be illegal for stores or businesses to refuse cash.
Yeah.
So there you go. We've spoken.
That's it.
I think
job done.
Job done. Right, let's turn our attention to, we're looking at an American paper first, American, the Los Angeles Times this morning, haven't really seen it. Trump relaxes car maker tariffs. President signs executive order to ease some of his 25% levies on automobiles and parts for them.
Do you know what I love? The way he signs his executive orders. I mean, he must have signed about 100.
Oh, more.
I mean, but
Many more, I would have
talk
said.
about diminishing
It's a
tenor.
really long signature, isn't it?
It's like an ECG. Wait till it flatlines and then we'll all be in trouble.
Or not. But yeah, but this had to happen, didn't it? Because I think a lot of the car makers have been putting pressure on Donald Trump and just saying, look, mate, they crosses the Canadian border sometimes, 6-7 times.
Don't even talk about Canada. What have they done?
Well,
What
they've done is try to protect themselves from.
Well,
Donald
Trump was a bogeyman, wasn't it? He's elected Carney, basically.
Without a shadow of a doubt, because the Canadians are really worried about Trump trying to take Canada as a 51st state, and I think Poilievre would have been more friendly to Trump.
Yeah, I think Poilievre would have been better all round, actually, to be honest with you. But
except for that closeness he had with Trump, and I think that's what. Well, I mean, Mark Carney won because of Donald Trump. It was definitely a poll on Trump. New political fight over civil rights. Democrats accuse Trump loyalist of wrecking an enforcement unit. She says she's targeting woke ideology. California's 2 US senators have joined with Democratic colleagues to demand answers from Trump loyalists. And California now heading the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division.
Oh, God help us then if that's the case.
Well, do you know what? There's so many lawsuits against Trump at the moment. It's over 100. That one more won't make a difference. Climate report expert given the boot. Another story here. Dismissals of 400 scientists raise fear Trump could end the effort or enlist others to attack the findings. We knew that was going to happen, didn't we?
Yeah, but also, what did Tony Blair say just yesterday about our drive?
Yeah, that it's.
I think Ed Miliband is in a very precarious position at the moment.
Do you?
And I hope he's going to be recycled very, very soon. A taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Shakespearean.
He has a habit of surviving that. Man.
Of renewable.
Yeah. Like a worm, you cut him in half and then there's
two of them.
Right, let's have a look at UK papers. The Times. Oh, this just under the title and above the stories. I don't care if a man does my mammogram. Is this how do you feel about that? I don't have a problem with it at all.
I don't. I wouldn't know. If I went for one, I'd...
So a medical professional's a medical professional, right? Oh, you'd want a woman?
I'd want a woman, yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I just would. It's my prerogative.
Well, I just thought you might have a reason.
I think it's the same with obs and gynae. I always preferred female midwives, female obstetricians, and for if I had a mammogram, I would expect to be seen by a woman.
Because I don't. That's interesting.
As set by the Supreme Court.
That's interesting because it really would not bother me at all because I don't. It's just a procedure that you go through, and I would see a professional medic as a professional medic rather than one of gender or colour or religion or whatever. I just wouldn't. It really wouldn't bother me. And I just think it's really interesting that we can have such a different opinion on something that wouldn't even occur to me.
It wouldn't even have occurred to me, Petrie, that if any woman presented for a mammogram, that it would be done by a bloke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not doctors.
No, but they're medical professionals.
Well.
And I don't... Why wouldn't you want a man doing it?
Because I don't want a man anywhere near my chest to do an examination.
But is that because of your fear of it being sexualised?
No, it's my fear of my value of myself being given up and opened for a man to see.
But why would he be looking at you in a certain way?
I'm not saying he'd be looking at a certain way, and I couldn't honestly put myself in his position. And I would actually question at times as well why a man would want to do something like that as well.
But he's just a medical professional. It's just a doctor or a
It's
nurse
not, but it's-
or a.
But it's the
they
same,
don't-
going back to my point of I prefer female obstetricians and female gynecologists.
But if you were in a road accident, right, and they had to open up your top to give
That's
you heart
completely
massage
different.
or whatever, and it was a man doing that.
That's
but how
completely
is that different?
Because it is completely different. It's not a tender examination where women are already in a heightened state of anxiety, and the procedure itself can be quite painful. And there's it's just not, for me, it's quite invasive, and I wouldn't like a man performing that procedure. Completely different from an RTA where you need emergency services in to keep the patient alive, the person alive, at all costs.
But I don't see the difference. I genuinely don't, because I think that if you don't want a man to carry it out,
It's the same as male midwives.
Is it because they've never been through it, or they don't understand it?
Partly.
Or,
I mean, I'm not a big one for lived experiences, as you well know, but I think I think it's more emotional, and I think it's better
do you
for
feel you'll
women
be
to have
judged more by a man?
No,
or?
not judged. No, it's me. It's not about them.
Yeah.
It's about me.
And yet you question why a man would do that job.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
What I'm trying to get to is, what do you think is going through the man's mind?
I haven't a clue. I'm not a bloke.
But why would you be thinking, well, why have you...
I know what's
why
going
are
through
you
my
doing
mind,
that
and I
job?
don't want it. I wouldn't like it.
And is that because of the sexual aspect?
No.
See, I don't understand.
I think it would be partly that, but also,
Okay.
It's just I'm a very private person. I'm a very private. I mean, I don't.
But you're still, I mean, still exposing yourself to a woman. So
You're
the
not
privacy
exposing yourself,
aspect,
but you're not.
But the privacy aspect is the same whether it's a man or a woman doing it, right?
I don't understand what you. How are you framing this, Petrie?
The question I'm asking you is that you're saying that it's about, I'm a very private person and I want privacy, but you don't mind not having that privacy when it's a woman doing it.
No, the privacy was minimised. I still don't like the procedure.
Well, nobody does.
Well, that's so okay. Yeah. No one does. But in order to minimise the dislike of it, it makes me feel easier if there's a woman there to perform the procedure instead of a bloke.
Honestly, it's like I can't compute it. It's like it won't go into my brain. Ian says, as a man, I could never do a mammogram scan. I have always separated business and pleasure.
Well, you see.
And Susan says, I've had a mammogram by a man in France. What's the issue? Medical professional. Sue says the same as me. But look, it's just something that I can't compute. But I respect the fact that that's you. But weird. Anyway.
Uncalled for. Uncalled for. In a discussion like that.
Entirely predictable.
Well.
What do you think about King Charles, opening up about his cancer? Is that something that you want the royals to do, to be more human? Or do you
I don't think him having cancer dehumanised him, and I don't think him talking about it either makes him more human. I just think he's 76 now, and he's putting this out there, and that's it.
Is it a good thing?
I don't really care.
Oh.
I just don't. I mean, it's headlines in most of the papers.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't. I don't expect from royal protocol. This is a situation. This is how I'm dealing with it. I don't think the king's a relatable figure for many people. I don't think many people, if they get a diagnosis of cancer, will think, oh, how did the king get through this?
Yeah.
What did he do? Because our lives are so separate and so different that an analogy can never be brought into the fold in order to make our lived experience anything like his.
But it's just interesting that the royals, I mean, the Queen would never have discussed a medical situation.
No.
Would she?
But
and I wonder if people want the royals to be this sort of almost mystery higher
I think
than
the
us.
role of the royals is completely changing. I think we're going through a rebirth now, and I think after the death of Queen Elizabeth II,
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
I think that, yeah, basically
agree.
that's it.
I agree.
That really is it.
Yeah. And what about these? There's another story on that. Well, it's an image actually, beautiful image on the front page.
The beefeater.
These ceramic poppies.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Did you? I mean, my brain went. I was reading about
The
these.
second time it couldn't compute.
Yeah,
I think we've got a
because
problem.
this was 10 years ago.
I know.
But if you'd asked me, I'd have said 5 probably.
Yeah.
But it was
Or a
10 years
couple.
ago, and they sold them. I thought they'd sold them all £25 each. I really regret not buying some. Do you? Because they are beautiful.
Stunning.
Absolutely beautiful. And the image now the artist has done of the poppies coming down the side of the tower as a river of blood. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Stunning.
It's stunning. Absolutely.
It really
stunning.
is.
It's a beautiful display, and I hope that they sell them again, because this time I will.
So again, 30,000 ceramic poppies at the Tower
It was
of
100,000
London.
before, wasn't it?
I can't
They
remember.
went round the tower in the moat.
So of course they're celebrating 80 years since VE Day.
But they are absolutely stunning, and if you are coming to London as a visitor, I would absolutely recommend going to see this art installation. It is breathtaking.
Yeah.
It's totally breathtaking. Vivian has just said, I'm with Claire, totally expect and prefer female to handle female issues. And that's Vivian from Liverpool. Right, solar panels on all new homes. That's not a bad idea, is it?
Well, it is.
Is it?
It is, because the cost to the house builder, which will then be passed on to the house buyer, is it's like £3,500 or something, 3,300 and £4,000 for a detached property. And let's not kid ourselves. You know, we really don't have the weather to sustain solar panelling. We don't have, in terms of rain, thunder, lightning, hailstones, you know, and then heat.
And that's summer.
And that is summer. So, and again, the parity or disparity of solar panels actually working between the north, the south, the west and the east of the country is a complete non-entity. So why they're actually making this legislation across the board for all new house builds that didn't the Angela Rayner actually say, I'm going to resign, because they can't do the 1.5
No,
million
they're never
targets.
going to do that. No,
Right?
no, they never
really
always
can't.
do that.
And I'm not caning her, I'm not caning the Labour Party, because the Tories then came out and said something even more stupid, if you can believe it, that they would actually increase the figure to 1.6. And notwithstanding what's happened in Europe.
What do you make, though, of the idea that is being sort of floated around that people in the south will pay more for their electricity than people in the north?
It's absolutely honest to God, it's incredible. You wonder what training they've gone through for comms. You wonder what Morgan McSweeney is doing at Number 10 at the moment, because the messaging that's coming out of that place, it's
I've
horrific.
never known it so bad. But
And
yeah,
I know there's
the
no
idea.
hope, but at least tell us that we're in safe hands dealing with the no hope, the hopelessness. They can't even do that. But Scotland, I know my mum has the heating on even now because they're not having the heat wave we're having. So they're spending more on their energy
winters are
all
longer
of the
and
time.
colder,
Yes.
Yeah, maybe it should be cheaper then.
But no, it should be cheaper for everybody because we won't use it so much. And yet our costs of houses are much higher here. So it all comes out in the wash. But to make something as standard as energy prices, to non-standardise them to a geographical location, it's wrong. It's mappist. There you are.
Yes,
There's a new word. It's mappist.
Well, it is. It's almost, how dare you be in the south? You're going to be punished for it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Or worse.
or worse. Let's take a break. Back in a sec.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and with me is Ms Muldoon.
And we're talking.
Talking. Let's have
And almost
look.
coming to blows because you've got weird views on stuff.
Oh, you've got weird views
No,
on
I
stuff.
don't.
Yes, you do.
I don't. My
You
views are
do.
very well
Yeah, you
formed,
do.
actually.
Yeah.
I've got an incredible moral compass. My views are really, really well formed, well thought out, backed up by research and evidence. More than I can say than for you.
And do you know what my answer to that is?
I don't care what your answer is. Did I ask? Did I ask what your answer was?
What do you make of silly baby names?
Like what?
Well, this one is called Archimedes. This is, you called
Where are
your
you?
baby what? Oh, it's a Telegraph top above the flag.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots, I've seen lots of things recently, people calling their daughters things like Snow White or...
Wicked. Imagine in a close in Glasgow. Wicked, come here, hen, your dinner's ready.
Yeah, so there's a big drive at the moment, people trying to individualise their children by giving them
Stop
weird
it.
names. Stop it.
Stop it.
Oh, she's spoken. Right, Norway says don't give up on oil to the UK because Norway has just signed, I think, lots of licences, and they're going to be drilling in the North Sea. We want to
Keep your
develop the
hands
North
off
Sea.
our fish as well, please, Norway.
I think they've been sold, haven't they, by Keir Starmer in order to get a deal on something. But I think the UK and oil gas industry has contributed in just the same way, he says, until now. So, and Norway is doing this because they want to increase their GDP, they want to grow their economy, and they're saying, UK, if you abandon oil and gas, you will destroy your economy.
They're right. They are right.
Well, I don't know. Just Stop Oil have stopped, haven't they?
Oh, about blooming time. And they were over Tower Bridge at the marathon on Sunday.
People were just running and they were throwing
orange powder
Why?
or something. I don't know. What? That's the question, isn't it?
They were just
Why?
running. They weren't using engines.
But this is the point. This is Just Stop Oil, isn't it? And I wish they would just stop.
I think they are.
But look, there's a nib here, which will be followed on page 11 of the Telegraph tomorrow. Labour lets council sell off school fields. This was done in the 70s and 80s.
It was done to us.
To a lot
wasn't
of
it?
private schools that then bought it over, and they wonder why some child they've got a childhood obesity issue because the state school kids don't have any fields to run on or to develop their skills. And we've got, everything is down to national lottery funding. You look at Thames Valley Harriers, for instance, up at Wormwood Scrubs, an amazing county level. It's actually at the Linford Christie Stadium at Wormwood Scrubs. They do decathlon, they do the track, they do field. It's brilliant, okay? Absolutely brilliant. And it's for kids from all around the area. A lot of them, well, you know it well. A lot of them go to either private schools or state schools, but it's a great leveller.
Yeah.
Absolutely a great leveller. I think it's a real problem, and I think it's going to be an issue for schools if they do sell off their grounds, because it would then eat into the private sector, whether it be a new gym for everybody, whether it would be something else, a house, a block, or whatever. It's all it will do is minimise and diminish education at such a basic level for those that need it.
I couldn't agree more. And like you said, in the 70s and 80s, it was Margaret Thatcher, wasn't it, started selling off all the state school grounds. And like you said, it's just like, well, then, they don't do sport anymore. I mean, I hated sport at school. I hated the hockey.
Captain of my hockey team.
Oh, I knew you would be. Were you vicious with a hockey stick?
Bloody vicious.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Ground stick,
ground stick, ball.
Yeah.
No, I used
on pink ash.
Oh no, we did it on grass, and then I'd just run in the opposite direction. I was quite a nutty runner.
You wouldn't have been in my team.
I hated hockey. It was brutal.
Loved it.
Brutal game.
Loved it, especially in the rain.
We used to once a year do boys rugby team against girls hockey team, playing hockey and girls and boys playing rugby.
Yeah.
Right. And in the hockey, we used to absolutely thrash the boys because they were terrified
of the sticks.
And we were like, little vicious
ninjas.
Little ninjas. We would always know how to hit in areas that you weren't meant to when the ref wasn't watching and the teachers weren't watching.
You attended biology classes then?
Yeah. And then in rugby, we would win that match because
they'd be too frightened to go in to tackle you. Yeah.
We would go, to cry, and then they go, oh, sorry, and run away. And we'd go,
wonderful.
Yeah, so we used to win every year.
That's called very positive femininity. It really is.
We were going to win.
It's manipulation.
It's complete manipulation. I learnt it there.
The difference between men and women. You couldn't do that now.
But it is nonetheless important. As much as I did hate it.
It's so important.
It was important.
It really was. Even to just realise that you hated it.
Yeah, and also there was that team feeling, and there was that,
camaraderie.
I was better at netball. I was good at netball. I like netball, but but to get rid of for councils to be selling off this land, and you know what it's for? It's for this. They'll just put blocks of flats on there or houses on there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a drive for councils to make more out of council tax because they're not making the money out of the.
They're trying to. It's as if they're trying to reinvent the wheel.
It's disgusting.
But they don't learn from the past.
No.
That's the thing.
And when they did that in the 70s and 80s, it caused such a stink. It was such a problem for kids' health.
It's still a problem for kids now, especially in inner city London.
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely. And if kids do round by me, like you're talking about Wormwood Scrubs, if they want to, which is just literally just down the road from me, but if they want to play football, they've got to pay in these council-owned areas.
In fact, there was a report, a very, very good report. That I don't even know what or who the think tank was or whatever. And they actually said, remember the signs that were put up, no balls allowed? Or something?
Yeah, always.
And that has driven a lot of young lads and a lot of young girls. It's prevented them from actually, in these sink estates, from taking a ball out and actually kicking the ball around.
Yeah.
They could develop skills. They could have been a Pele or a Maradona or whomever. But the reality is, with these punitive signs being put up,
and then they're not allowed to go and
driving
play.
kids. And where can they go?
I know. It's so unfair, and that is a disaster.
We know the problems that we've got.
Yeah.
They should be addressing them instead of making it worse.
They just want to make money. That's all it is.
Oh, they're just stupid.
Stupid. Let's take a break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, it's Petrie, and with me is Claire Mould.
Well, I don't know for how much longer I'm going to be here. I feel like walking out.
Oh, do you?
No.
That'd be so unprofessional.
Yeah. By you?
Yeah. Yeah, what are you trying to say? I'm unprofessional?
Yeah. Tonight you're being
so
uber
rude.
unprofessional.
Wow, you're being just a bit feisty.
Just finish the other three letters of that bit. Get Ofcom on your back. We're in Purda. I might just dump the next councillors here and you'll need to go through the whole list.
Go through the whole list. No, because I'll get Santos to dump you. That'll be fun.
Fastest finger first.
Yeah, we're in that period of purdah where if you mention one of the councillors, you have to mention all of them. So please don't, that'll make me cry. The Guardian. Let's have a look at US downturn amid Trump tariffs triggers fear of global slowdown. I think we've talked enough about that. What about this video of this sycamore tree, the sycamore gap
Can we
tree?
actually talk about this?
Yeah.
Because it's a live case.
Well, I mean, we can
It's
talk
all
about
alleged.
the image. Yeah, we can talk about
Right.
the images that we've
Just
got there.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think it's awful. I really do, that it was cut down.
Yeah, I mean, I can't...
It's no joke.
No, it isn't. It isn't funny. But the images that are there are really quite
Bleak.
artwork, aren't they? They look like a piece of installation art.
Well, look at the header of The Guardian. In my view, The Guardian is anything but a Guardian. But anyway, 24/5 unforgettable years of Tate Modern. On my way here tonight, went down the embankment.
Yeah.
On the right-hand side, Battersea Power Station had all those colours on one part of the Battersea Power
love
next to Tate Modern.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Beautiful,
Really
absolutely
beautiful.
beautiful. So
I'm not
that's
a big-
another thing for people to come to London to see.
I'm not a fan of Tate Modern to go and look at art there
Yeah.
because it's curated really strangely.
It is.
I like Tate traditional better because the way it's curated is so much easier
Yeah, and
to
I took
understand.
you, remember?
Yes, and it's much easier to understand. I think that Tate Modern, I don't like the way
I
they
haven't
put it
seen the
together.
new adjunct extension of the National Gallery yet. Maybe we need to go there again
Yeah, I
soon.
love the National. That's lovely as well. Right, so live brain tissue may help tackle dementia.
Well, I mean, that sounds like an absolute no-brainer, pun intended, because obviously if you've got dementia, part of your brain tissue is dying. So live brain tissue would help it, surely.
It would, yeah, but
Wonder where they're getting it from, though.
not from this studio.
Well, not from you.
Not from this studio.
Not from her.
Anyway, let's move on. King's message of hope for fellow cancer patients on frightening journey. As you said, I wonder how much people will
Relate
really
to
relate.
it. Oh, God,
to
look, there's
that.
Lorraine Kelly there as well.
Is she there as well?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, she's never on a programme, so she's got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
She's got to be
Oh,
somewhere.
my God, they've got them all there, look. Oh, don't. Turn it over.
Oh, yeah.
Robbie Williams, is he still touring?
I think he must be, yeah. Edinburgh,
My goodness me.
Newcastle, London, Manchester, Bath. Would you go and see Robbie Williams?
No, I've seen him already.
I wouldn't bother.
With Take That and on his own. No, I didn't see him on his own. I don't think I just saw him with.
Oh, are you a fan
Take
of
That.
Slow Horses? Have you watched?
Huge fan.
Oh, I love it. Don't you?
Huge
Oh,
fan.
my
Why is it
God.
something? Oh,
Yeah, just
Gary
on the front,
Oldman.
Gary Oldman on his latest booze-filled character. He is. I want to work at Slough House when I grow up. Don't you? Would that be fun?
Saskia Reeves, she's brilliant.
They're all
in
brilliant.
it.
They are all absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen Slow Horses, please, it is worth.
Jack Loudon.
Everything about it is fantastic, and there's a lot of
Jonathan Pryce.
just all of them. The whole thing, and basically it's about spies, and there's the top MI5 people who are in this glitzy office, and then there's the rejects that have to go and work in Slough House.
The rejects
Rejects are
being they
better.
might have made a mistake
Yeah.
in what are they called? An op.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Gary Oldman plays the boss of that, and he is utterly disgusting in it, but just brilliant.
Unbelievable.
And I think there's a new series of Slow Horses coming out very
There
soon.
is. And the books are brilliant.
Do you know what I was just going to say to you? I tried to read the books, and I couldn't
all
get
you
the
see was
language.
Gary Oldman.
I just couldn't. The language didn't. You know, sometimes when you hit a writer that doesn't gel with the way that you think.
Yeah.
And I was trying to read it, and I thought, no, this is.
It'd be dangerous if anyone felt the way you thought.
I know. But some people do it. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. But anyway, Slow Horses, brilliant. Gary Oldman, brilliant. Watch it. I tell you what starts this weekend as well.
What?
Is Handmaid's Tale. New series.
But Margaret Atwood only wrote the one book.
But she's associated
Yeah.
with these stories.
Is
with
Elizabeth
this.
Moss still in it?
Yes. But the next one, this is the last of the Handmaid's Tales, and then they're going to do Testaments, which is brilliant, which I'm reading at the moment, rereading at the moment. And that was Margaret Atwood.
I'm still reading Butter at the moment.
Butter?
Yeah.
What, the actual packs of butter to see what's in it?
Well, certainly won't be Lurpak because there's no butter in that.
There is.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is. Stop it.
And all that spreadable rubbish.
No.
It used to be block.
Proper old hard block of butter.
Yeah.
So
Always.
that's what you read when you go home. You read a block of butter because you...
You're being facetious now.
You said you read butter. I'm just saying.
Clearly you're not up on the cool
cool
books.
trendy books.
Yeah.
No. And read a book about butter.
Are you in your own book club all by yourself?
No, I read biographies and war journals and
yes, so you've got your own book club then.
Yeah, of me and me, and we talk about who's going to save Ukraine and books like that. Who will defend Europe? That's what I read, isn't it, Gabriella?
What's the answer?
Me.
Oh, well, good on.
Good man. The great thing about these books is there is no answer. Right, the Metro King's Cancer Message of Hope. Yep, okay. Financial Times.
There's a lot of women there in the Vietnamese army.
Oh, they really are, yeah. Vietnam. Oh, they will, because this is Vietnam's female peacekeeping force.
They don't look very peacekeeping, do they? They look...
Well, they're wearing... I've got a UN beret. I've got one of those.
It's not the beret, it's the look in their faces and their guns.
And their fine lipstick. Marvellous. Yeah, they're wearing the United Nations beret and cravat. A ground military operation in the city formerly known as Saigon. Vietnamese Communist Party head to Lam praised the nation's transformation from a war-torn country into one of the fastest growing economies. That's very true, actually. Vietnam's growing massively. Fall of Saigon on April the 30th, 1975 marked the end of a divided Vietnam, as well as the war between the Communist North and the US Allied South. So there they are. They look really rather splendid, actually. They look great. Daily Express, King's gratitude for community care.
Do you know, anyone would think there was an election happening tomorrow, that none of the papers are reflecting that. So
Funny
they're all
that,
going...
isn't it?
Really funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very strange how they're all going la la la
la la la la la la la.
King, my rebellious hope. Here we go. M&S attacker, a pig sickener. What?
Cyber crooks. This is back on the cyber attack. This isn't an ordinary cyber attack. This is an M&S cyber attack.
So apparently they've gummed up Percy Pig supplies. There you go. King's message of hope. Take risks, love deeply. Okay, thanks. What about the Daily Star? What do we think of that?
Oh, I love it.
They're back. Do you know, for the last couple of weeks, it's been really boring. They've been really rubbish. And now, I think it was about 2 weeks, I think that person was on holiday.
Yeah,
they're back now with the Pritt.
Perhaps.
Maybe they took the Pritt stick with them.
I just love it. I love the pun. No way, not him.
Yeah.
Him obviously being a verse, a song that religious people sing, and him, the homophone, meaning Trump.
Meaning Trump.
He, him. I'm top of the popes. I couldn't believe someone in America actually thought that he could be elected Pope. That's where this story's coming from.
And they've made it official. It's like a proper tweet, isn't it? Like a proper message coming out of his administration saying that they should vote for Trump.
Just absolutely bonkers.
But what goes on in their minds?
I don't know. They don't have minds.
That's true. But the idea, Trump, he should be Pope. What?
He's a job god. Trump wants to be Pope. Bet the bookies are not so sure. His odds are 500 to 1. No one wants an orange pontiff.
But apparently he was saying as well, I'd be a good Pope. I'd be a good Pope. Why not? But then it's one of a member of his team that has just gone, no, seriously, he should be voted as Pope. And that the Cardinal should be informed that he would be a great Pope.
And take part in the conclave then.
At least that would lock him away for a few weeks. Be a bit quieter on the executive.
It takes an average of 2 days to elect a new Pope.
Can't we take a bit longer?
No.
Can't we just tell him it's going to take a bit longer? Well, at least 2 days of no executive orders being signed. It might be a relief.
It's been new encyclicals.
Oh, blimey. So, yeah, Nessie is real. Now's a Scots lady.
Nessie is not real.
Oh, blimey.
Absolutely not at all.
How do you know?
Because we just know we would have found him by now, or her. It's ridiculous. Loch Ness is not that big. It's not that deep.
It's very deep.
It's not.
Blooming cold.
It's very cold. Have you been down to the bottom of it? How
Yes.
deep? No, stop it.
No, I haven't. But I have swum in it, and
Yeah.
it is freezing.
It is.
But why?
Regardless of the time of year.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
No.
But could it?
No.
Oh, all right.
Stop. This is just. We love the Daily Star. You know we love the Daily Star, but Nessie ain't real. Just like Trump cannot be Pope.
No, maybe he could be Nessie.
Oh, you're just being silly now.
So Loch Ness is the second deepest loch in Scotland.
So? Still not that deep.
How deep? 755 feet. That is deep.
Yeah, it's deep.
Well, you could get a monster or two down there. I don't think you can say absolutely.
I think you need some live brain tissue, love.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to be the donor. Let's take a break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Want to work this?
We're on air. You can't talk about things like that. Hello. You didn't catch that, did you, boss? It's Petrie here with Clement Dune. Getting me into trouble.
My lips are sealed.
Yeah, too late now. Right, so you found some other stories because we've actually gone through all of the papers, which is extraordinary.
Well, we always do.
I don't think we did it very efficiently, but we went through.
Oh, we did.
We went through
We
them.
did. So, papers from the inside of the papers today.
Yeah.
We've had the M&S cyber attacks, the 17-year-old lads who have put a stop to
17.
Yep.
Scattered spider or something they're called.
Online orders in M&S. They've taken the British retailer down to its knees. I can't believe it. And my sister actually tried to order a cake because my mum's was 80, so I'm going up to Glasgow with all the kids this weekend. And we're having a bit of a party, so my sister ordered a cake, one of these lovely personalised ones. Ordered it before the cyber attack, got the refund through last night, and she didn't even know it wasn't going to be done. So she then frantically tried to look for somewhere to get a cake. Yeah, but the point is, it's actually affecting them, M&S, quite badly. I think
Yeah,
they've
it really
lost
is.
quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
But why don't they just ram these scattered spiders up and let them put their technical wizardry to great use and infiltrate
always think
states
that.
like, you know, Russia or spies for other countries,
Or
and they
use
can
them
find
to
a
build your own proper
security network.
But I think
like-
a lot of them do use.
Did you read Stieg Larsson's the Millennium Trilogy?
No.
With the girl that killed the girl that kicked the hornet's nest. Then there was the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there was 3 of them that were fantastic, and Lisbeth Salander was the protagonist, and she was so good on, you know, computers. And this was written about 15, 20 years ago, before the intelligence was really there. But Stieg Larsson wrote about it with great aplomb and great authority, that everyone was like, wow, that's exactly what he did. Got this outsider in, and it transformed the whole case.
Yeah.
It was superb.
Yeah.
That's what they should do.
That's exactly what they should do.
Spanish blackout, some are saying it's blamed on solar panels. So again, it's more interesting to find that house builders have been told that if they're going to build new houses, then they have to put the quota of solar panels on the roofs, as we discussed in some of the front pages today, this evening. I think it's a stupid idea. I don't think we've got the climate for it, and I think it needs to stop. I am not a Tony Blair fan at all, just putting it out there. However, I think what he said the other day about this drive to net zero, and anyone who criticises it is seen as an anti-climate,
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about that yesterday.
Denier and stuff like that.
It's taken on almost a sort of religious, that where you mustn't.
But we saw that from Just Stop Oil, Petrie. I mean, come on.
It's ridiculous. And look, it's the when they're saying, look, from 2030 or whenever you won't be able to replace your gas boiler, you'd have to get an air. What about people who live in high-rise flats?
They can't fit them in.
Or the majority of houses that don't have big enough gardens or space for. You have to have so much distance from an.
I don't know.
It's very complicated.
You better move your beehive.
Yeah, but my beehive will have to go. But there's a lot of people who just won't. They won't work.
Yeah, it won't.
So that's just pathetic.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This drive for electric vehicles where no one can afford an electric vehicle.
2.5. I mean, there's tons of cars, and they wonder why they've got more potholes now.
I know.
Come on.
I know, it's ridiculous.
People that live in flats, people that live in terraced houses.
It doesn't add up, does it? None of it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. There's been no joined up thinking. If only they had listened to me at the very beginning.
Well, I mean,
we wouldn't
most
be in
people
this
say
nonsense,
that, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's great news for parents.
What?
Kids are stopping playing the recorder.
Oh yeah, I talked about this. I love this story. Did you play the recorder?
Yeah.
I did too. I went on to the big one, the deep one.
The clarinet?
No. It was the descant one. Do you remember the?
Yeah. They were all
big
brown
recorder. Yeah.
with white tops or cream.
And they were handed around different kids over the years, weren't they? You did too. And I bet you £1,000 they weren't ever cleaned.
There was no dishwashers then. But we were never ill.
Were you any good at it?
Oh,
at the recorder?
Good at everything. This is anyway. That's great news. I hated the din.
And what about your kids? Did they play the recorder?
Right, I had my 4 were at the same primary school for at least 2 years. Right, all at the same time. The amount of rubbish I had to sit through. We had cafe concerts with petit violins and violas and whatever, and the teacher she was French, and oh my God, it was like a I was like, this is rubbish. Can we leave now? Can we leave now? Is the pub open?
For my friends and family, I used to write reviews of my son at school plays and things like that, where they were written like properly, like what an absolute shambles. They didn't know their words, and then when Mr. Hosken popped his head out of a makeshift chimney, totally not believable. This is not going to work. But they used to really look forward to my reviews of the shows rather than the shows themselves. It was great fun.
One of the best stories, I think, sums up my son, and he's still like this to this day. Everybody just does things for Tom. He's great. He does a lot for a lot of people. But anyway, when he was about 4, for one of these concerts. He was standing there. All he had to do was blow the recorder because he had a wee girl in his class doing the finger.
Oh,
and
no.
yeah. And he was standing there going, he was like, I was like, what the hell?
Oh my God. Oh, those shows you had to sit through.
Oh,
honestly.
Awful.
And make the costumes for as well.
Don't. And there was always the same bints that got the front seats until I came in and I told them to move. But I went to the back of the line to the parents who were, you know, not as gregarious as the rest of us. And I said, no, you've not sat there. You're just moving. You out. I was great.
You were bossy.
I was very bossy, but I was great for the underdog. I supported everybody.
Yeah.
Was there for everyone.
God, they must
My
have been
Christmas
terrified
fairs
seeing
went
you coming.
through the roof.
Did you used to do the Christmas fair?
Yeah.
I never did any of those. Oh, I never.
Oh, I was right in there.
Were you?
My way or the highway. Can we just not assume that we know what we're doing? I went, I don't like to assume anything. It just makes an ass out of you and me. You're fired. I was Alan Sugar. I really was.
This poor local primary school.
I wasn't poor.
God.
Far from it.
I hated mums like you.
No, you didn't.
I did. Because I did. I really did. You terrified me. It's like, I'm keeping away from her. Oh, yes, can you do some cupcakes? No, I can't.
Oh, no, I didn't ask.
No.
Right, where do your
contact.
strengths lie? What's your profession? Right, you can do that.
No, no.
It was brilliant.
You were terrifying me,
It
like
was
you. Horrible.
brilliant.
I know, thank goodness I
And
don't
the
have to go back to
staff
those
were
days.
great. They were like, wow, where have you been all this time?
I bet they didn't say that behind your back. What else have you got?
Right. The Capitals Police, and this is not a particularly London-centric story because it has legs. Capitals Police charge only 1 in 20 in terms of shoplifting, right? And I am seeing this on a daily basis now, that in supermarkets or shops, I'm in them a lot, but people are shoplifting so much more. And I'll tell you the reason why. As soon as supermarkets and shops generally got rid of tills that you had to pass through, put your shopping up onto, engage with the till operator, getting your shopping through, the day that day was gone, this is the result. And I'm not surprised.
So you see people at the self-service checkouts just...
But even notwithstanding that fact, people don't see the... I think if you know that you've got to put your shopping onto a conveyor belt, engage with someone, then pack it, there's no room for manoeuvre. And I think it's that case of, oh, well, they really don't care now. They really don't care.
Yeah. They're not then. I mean, I never use the self-service ones because I think that's just rude.
Yeah.
That I've gone in there anyway. I've collected. The least you can do is take my money off me.
Your cash off you, even better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, another 2 good Gen Z stories. How long have we got?
About a minute.
All right, okay. Gen Z wishes good night to bedtime stories. My kids are Gen Zs, right? And if any of them had children, I'm sure they would all read to their kids. And this is really sad that this population of 27, 28-year-olds are not reading to the children.
That is really sad because I always read to my boy, and I was always read to by my dad, not by my mum, but my dad was always read, and I loved the bedtime stories.
I loved reading to mine.
Yeah.
I really did. And then when the age differential got too much, I took the other 2 and then did 2 and 2. And I used to love there sitting with a glass of wine. Michael Morpurgo books. Some of us would be in, some nights that were so good that would actually, the 3 of us would be in tears. They were so brilliant.
Yeah. And I think it's such a special time, and it is a shame that people are losing that.
Oh yeah, and then a quick final one. Gen Z, trains clash danger. They're all walking around with their earbuds. They're more likely to get run over by a train.
Of course they are. Or by anything. By everything.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Electric, and you can't hear the electric vehicles anyway, even if you do have buds in.
Stealth
Death by
vehicles.
stealth.
And we haven't even mentioned angry beavers. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Claire Muldoon. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really, it's been great. Right.
Bit.
Coming up.
Cheerio.
Cheerio. Coming up, it's just you and me, and we're going to be talking cash. So, cash, what is that for you? Is it important? Do you always keep a stash of cash around? Are you somebody who always goes out with cash? Or, like me, do you just, I don't want to lose the ability to use cash, but I very, very rarely ever have any cash on me. I don't even think I've got any cash at home, to be honest, but we're being urged now to hoard cash in case of cyber attacks. And also MPs are saying that businesses may have to be forced now to accept cash as more and more of them refuse the folding stuff. I don't think they should be allowed to refuse it. It's legal tender, but many of them are saying, no, we don't take cash at this establishment. So how important is cash to you, and how important should it be to all of us? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000, and send a message to 87222.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock this Thursday morning. We're talking about cash and a couple of stories about cash that have been knocking around oddly today. They're not connected to each other, but they just were sort of knocking about. So there's one story is that the public could be urged to hoard cash in case of cyber attacks and blackouts. This is MPs are suggesting this. The Treasury Select Committee mooted that the drastic advice, is it drastic? As it warned over the growing shift away from coins and banknotes. And look, I very, very, very rarely use cash. But I don't want to lose the ability to use it, so I should use it more. But it is one of those things that a lot of shops now are suggesting that they're not going to take cash. A lot of businesses won't take cash. And MPs are also saying, this is another story, MPs are also saying today that we should legislate to force businesses to accept cash because it is still legal tender. I don't know how businesses are able to say, No, to cash. Because I thought if you were offered legal tender, you had to take it, right? It would make sense if that were the case. But half of shoppers now, 1 in 2 shoppers, have recently been somewhere that did not accept cash or discourage the use of cash, according to research. And also another story is in the Mail, Money Mail, revealed the black spots where cash is dying out. And what they've done is they've looked at ATMs in the area, those automated teller machines, cash machines. And they've looked to see what the reduction is in people taking out cash. And when I was younger, I don't know about you, do you remember, I was always at the cash machine. My card, putting it in, taking out, £5. You used to be able to take £5 out of a cash machine. Do you remember those days? Or a tenner for the evening. Oh my God, can't even get a tenner out for a sandwich nowadays, let alone for an entire evening. But I was always at a cash machine, and slowly, of course, the cards became accepted more everywhere, cash cards, and then it's now on your phone, the Apple Pay or whatever pay that you've got. So you just, as long as you've got your phone on you. But again, I always think, well, maybe I shouldn't be so stupid, because if I've just got my phone on me and I haven't got a tenner on me and my phone gets nicked, I can't order an Uber. I can't do anything. So maybe we should all be a little bit more, mind you, I suppose black cabs in London will take cash, but I don't know how, buses don't take cash. So the buses in London don't take cash. So if I wanted to get from A to B, I couldn't. I wouldn't even be able to phone anybody to come and help me. So maybe we are overly reliant now on a system where cash is not involved. That's really suddenly worried me, actually. Maybe I should start carrying a bit of cash around in my pocket, just in case. You never know, right? Anyway, cash withdrawals from ATMs plummet. Why it's time for a new law forcing shops to accept coins and notes. The biggest drop in cash being taken out of cash machines is Holborn and St Pancras here in London. Bristol, a lot of London, Islington, cities of London and Westminster. Edinburgh are not using as much cash. York, not using as much cash. And Norwich, down. These are down 57, 55 and 54%. So that is huge. But the areas where they're still being used a lot, so the lowest reduction in cash withdrawals, Leicester, Birmingham, Bradford, West Tyrone, Stoke-on-Trent, Bradford East, Middlesbrough, Belfast North and Blackley and Middleton South. So it looks like it's not all southern, is it? But a lot of southern areas are not using cash as much as northern areas, aside from sort of Edinburgh and places like that. So it's really interesting to see how few of us now use cash. But how important is cash to this society? Do give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. 0344 499 1000. Calls are charged at the national rate, and you can text as well. Talk and your message to 87222. Now, Chris is in Tetbury in Gloucestershire. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, how are you?
I'm really well this morning. How are you?
Tired, but getting there.
Getting there. Yeah, I slept so much today, actually, I have to be honest with you. But
I wish I could say the same.
Yeah, so I'm feeling a bit more chirpy than usual. Chris, what do you think of this recommendation that we should hoard wads of cash?
Well, before we go there, can I just offer you was asking for a trick earlier with pound tokens?
Oh, yes.
Use your house keys. If you've got a circle house key or a key ring, take off your key ring, turn it around. It works exactly the same as a pound coin.
Does it really?
That's what I do all the time.
I don't know if it's circle. I'm going to check my keys in a minute. I never looked at them.
It's a standard circle key. Yeah, just turn it around and just poke it in.
Well, it's worth getting one, right? Just to put it on, even if I don't use those keys, it's worth getting a key like that, just to put it. That is brilliant, and it works exactly the same.
Yeah, you can get one of those little pound coin keyring things anyway if you're going to do that from a shop. Most shops for like 20p usually.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I don't think I can mention shop names, can I? But yeah, there's plenty of them around.
Yeah.
Home bargains and stuff like that. You can get the key trolley tokens, they're called, and yeah, usually get them
I'm
for
going to get that.
50p.
I'm going to get one of those because I never ever have a pound on me. But that is brilliant. Thank you for that, Chris. Brilliant.
So, yeah,
I'm going to write that on my hand.
The cash holding thing. Who realistically nowadays could afford to have any cash in general to hoard?
I agree. It's a pompous suggestion, isn't it?
Who gets everything paid for and gets all the expenses and second incomes and all that stuff. You know, who realistically? I work 2 jobs. I'm on my second job at the minute.
Oh, bless
I
you.
work on a farm during the day and I drive lorries at night. And I'm barely struggling to get through day to day.
Wow.
Support my family. I don't do it out of the joy. Well, I do a little bit out of the joy, but I do it mainly to support my family.
Of course. No, it is crazy, isn't it? But would you like, I mean, not to have, I mean, of course we'd all like to have hoards of cash, but what do you think of the idea of just keeping some cash in the house just in case there is, you know, some kind of a cyber attack or whatever? We are more vulnerable than ever.
I like the idea of it. Yeah, I like the idea of it, and I agree with the idea of it. But realistically, how far does 100 quid get you nowadays?
Nowhere.
You used to be able to pick up a basket of shopping for, what, 15, 20 quid? You
Yeah.
pick up a basket nowadays is a good 50, 60 quid sometimes.
Easy. Yeah, and you don't get much for it either.
Exactly. You get like 10 or 11 items if you're lucky, and that's on their own brand stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah. So realistically, 100 quid, maybe even 200 quid if you're lucky.
It's not even going to last 3 days, is it?
No, so with the cost of living and everything like that, it's impossible.
I completely agree. But do you use...
years ago, yeah, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
It would have been a good idea, but...
Do you use cash a lot, or not?
Yes and no. In the shopping and stuff like that, because on bank stuff, on your Apple Pay and bits and bobs like that, cash is usually when you buy stuff off like Facebook and bits and bobs like that. Or car boot sales are just you find a man you want a dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's things that you need cash for, and there's things that it's best just to keep through the systems, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just think if we lose cash, if we do turn into a cashless society, which is no doubt the direction we're heading in, I think that would be a disaster.
Yeah, complete disaster. And yeah, there's always a reason for cash.
I like the fact that they can't trace it. That it's you know. I mean, you can't these days. You're not supposed to pay even. I don't have a cleaner, but even if I did have a cleaner, you know, you're not supposed to pay them in cash because they can hide that cash, and you're not supposed to pay builders or anybody like that in cash because of the VAT and all of that. So that's why they want us to get rid of cash, because they want to make sure that everything is taxable and traceable.
That's what it all comes down to. Is just they want to know where it's going and all the bits. And surely, if everyone's going to be hoarding cash a bit, if they can afford it, they're going to have to print more because there's not enough going through the system. Which will then bring the cost of everything to go up more to cover the cost of no money in the system.
That's a very good point. There's a very good point. There isn't enough money in the system, and I mean, I like you said, how much is enough for, you know, a week of a blackout? I mean, Spain is still going through this, so parts of Portugal and France. So that's a week now, I think. So how much money would we have to keep to one side to survive a week?
Well, realistically, you want at least £1,000 to be completely safe.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Being realistic, and if you can get that much, then fair play to you. If you can, then you got to beg, borrow, and steal. Not literally steal. Not literally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, what about? I mean, the thing is that even if you've got cash, there's a lot of businesses that don't accept it.
No, well, I'm in the countryside, so a lot of people around here do.
Oh, they do, do they?
in the cities and stuff like that, I'm too scared to go to the city, to be fair.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, I'm definitely a country bumpkin. Yeah.
I love
it is
Gloucestershire.
a lot of tough to go.
I used to spend a lot of time in Gloucestershire with my great aunt and uncle. He was a quite well-known estate agent in Gloucester, actually. He was Lear and Lear, which I think Lear is still there. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Gloucestershire. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the country and lovely people as well. I've always found.
Yeah, just in the middle of nowhere.
It's glorious. But the countryside is absolutely glorious. It's lovely to talk to you, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. I think you're right. I think we would need to hoard, £700 to £1,000 in case it went on for 2 weeks. And who can afford to do that? I think at the moment. That is a very, very good point. Chris, thank you very much indeed. Nick has called, new caller from Oxford. Hello, Nick.
Hello, hi. My experience with cash is that I gave up having a wallet during COVID because it was difficult to wipe down, and I just went all cards.
Yeah.
And the year before last, we were at Henley Regatta. I often go with a friend of mine, and we get members enclosure tickets. And
very nice.
At the bar there, a pint of Pimm's is extortionately expensive. And there was a really nice lad behind the bar, and he could see I was struggling to carry them. And he said, "Do you want to leave a couple back here?" And I said, "That would be nice." He said, "No, tell you what, I'll carry them." And we went about 100 yards through the members' enclosure. And when I turned up with my friends, they said, "Who was that lad?" And I said, "Oh, he came out from behind the bar to help me carry the drinks." And they just looked at me and said, "Did you tip him?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't have cash anymore." And I felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
And it's good to have cash in your wallet. The previous caller said about storing huge amounts. But having cash in your wallet is really good because at the end of the month, if you're running a bit short, you've got an emergency reserve. And last week, I was going on the bus, and the machine wasn't working for the bus driver, and he just said, "Oh, just go and sit down." And I don't really like travelling without paying. And I suddenly remembered my friend had said, who's a nurse, had said, "That cash pocket in the front, keep half a dozen pound coins because they're really useful." And I went back and said, "Actually, I can pay you cash. I've got £3 in cash, or more than £3 in cash." And I think we should. I don't think we should give up on cash.
I don't want to give up on cash, but I barely ever carry it. To such a point that, like I was saying earlier, that even when I get a trolley out, apart from Chris had just given me a real good tip, but I would never have a pound coin. It's just like, it's so annoying. But I don't want to lose cash. I think cash is very, very important. It's important to privacy. It's a good security blanket. It's a good backup plan. But what do you think about the recommendation that we should hoard cash now in case there's a cyber attack or something?
Well, I'm not that sure about hoarding, and I fully understand the comments that you made previously with the previous caller about why some people like cash. Obviously, I would never support that, but it obviously happens.
What, paying builders and things like that? To avoid. Yeah, of course it happens, and that's what they're trying to stop, right?
Yeah.
And also saying that it is against the law or it's whatever to pay a cleaner or a gardener or whatever in cash, because then they're concerned about them not paying their tax. And I can see that, but it is really concerning, isn't it, that the amount of cash that we use now is so diminished that they could just try and get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. I think I'm not a fan of storing huge amounts of cash, but I think everyone should have some cash on them for absolute emergencies. You go to the supermarkets and the machines are down, you can buy your emergency food with cash.
What about shops being now the chance of legislation to make them take cash?
Well, I own a property in Scotland, and I went up there a couple of years ago to do some repairs. I let it out, and I went down to the village pub and I asked for a pint, and I got my card out, had no cash, and the guy said, "I'm sorry, we only accept cash." And he said, "Well, I poured it, you might as well have it." And I sat down and drank that, and I said, "If I come back with some cash tomorrow, can I run a tab?" And I thought, well, that's actually quite good, because, okay, I don't know their reasons for only accepting cash, and I would hope they were all totally positive. But cash does have a use these days. Mm. Because, of course, if you go to lots of small shops, they very often ask you, my local post office, do you put your bank card in the post office machine? Because the charges for using other cards on the other machine are really quite high. So we would much rather you just put the money in the post office machine, took it out as cash, we'll put it over and put it in the till, and job done.
Yeah, I can see that with a lot of small businesses. They can't afford the charges, can they? Particularly on, I don't think there's charges on debit cards, but there are on any form of credit cards. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Nick, great call, brilliant, thank you. Okay. Make sure you call again, won't you?
Well, hopefully I will.
Hope so. Bye. You do too. Nick, first-time caller there from Oxford, and it's as simple as that. If you want to join in the conversation, 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. This is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you. We're talking about cash because half of shoppers have recently been somewhere that did not accept cash or discourage the use of cash. And MPs are now suggesting at committee that actually it should be legislated that all businesses accept cash. It is legal tender after all. And many businesses, and many European countries, have legislated to make sure that their cash, or the euro, is still accepted in all businesses. So maybe we should be doing the same here. Also, it has been suggested that we start to hoard cash in case of cyber attacks or breakdowns in the system, like we saw in Spain, Portugal, and in parts of France. So I'm just wondering how important cash is to you and whether you would support a cashless society. Most of us want to keep cash, but this voice note from Paul says he would appreciate a cashless society. Have a listen.
Hi Petrie, Paul from Redditch. Just wanted to contribute to the cashless society story. I hate cash. I'm actually severely dyslexic when it comes to maths, money. And so for me, as someone who's always struggled with numbers and maths, cashless society is great because I can go into a shop, a restaurant, bars, wherever it is, and with a tap of I don't even need my credit cards anymore. I don't even use my phone. I just use my wristwatch now. And I can just tap it and, yeah.
I mean, that is a really interesting point, Paul. Thank you. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, it's called dyscalculia. Being dyslexic with numbers, dyscalculia. I know that because my son's best friend had it. But that must be really tricky, actually, when you're having to deal with cash. And as you said, now not having to deal with those numbers, not having to look at those numbers, is much easier for you. I can completely understand that. It's a very good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Got a couple of messages here saying, Petrie, I came back from Scotland with a Scottish £5 note and no one back home would accept it, even though it's legal tender. I ended up taking it to my bank to pay it into my account. Banks accept them, so why don't shops and pubs? That's Dave from Leicester. It's a really interesting thing with the Scottish notes, that they are legal tender, but I'm not sure that English notes are legal tender in Scotland. Maybe somebody who knows that can let me know. I thought there was a disparity in that. Can you let me know if that is the case or not? Maybe I've just remembered slightly wrongly. But yeah, if you've got a Scottish, they always think they're forgeries or they don't recognise them, but they are legal tender and they should be accepted. So David, thank you for that. Oh, it is accepted both ways, is it? I thought it wasn't. Well, there you go. I'd remembered incorrectly, which is not like my brain. Here we go. This one, I don't see the problem. My barber's fish and chip shop, Chinese takeaway and hand car wash all refuse car payment and only want cash. Not sure why. Yeah, I slightly get that. My local fish and chip shop actually only accepts cash. And it's actually saved me from eating fish and chips, because if I'm walking past with the dog, I always think, oh, that smells so nice. I'm going to go in and get some fish and chips. Then I realise I don't have any cash on me. So it's a really good diet, actually. But thank you for that. Yeah, there's plenty of places that will accept cash only, but we know for nefarious reasons. This one from Andrew says, I agree that almost any business in the UK should accept cash as it is legal tender. But to contradict what Claire Muldoon said earlier, that if you pay cash, if they keep all of it, which isn't true, as the banking fees for businesses are disgusting. I always keep a tenner on me. Okay, yeah, I should always keep a tenner on me. I never even think about it. So that has taught me something today. This one from Rachel said, I was coming out of Tesco recently and somebody collecting money for a charity caught me unaware. I said, I don't have any cash, but he pulled out a blinking QR code for me to scan in order to donate. Yeah, don't get caught out by that anymore. No. And Carol, I love this. You sent this in a little bit earlier. I was talking to Andy Lound about space, and Carol has just sent me this message going, Petrie, does this mean you're now an astronaut? After the fury that I had with Katy Perry calling herself an astronaut. Very good, Carol. I love that. But yes, I think it does. I think it does qualify me. Paula is in Halifax. Morning, Paula.
Oh, hello, Petrie.
How are you?
I'm not so bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not so bad.
Good, I'm glad.
So, cash. Do you use cash or card?
Well, one of the taxi firms that I use regularly to go see my mum is you have to pay £1 extra, but they're more expensive because I can get another company, and if I pay cash, it's £8.50 to get to my mum's, but if I pay by card, it's £11 to get
What?
my mum's, and that's a big saving.
That's a huge difference.
I know.
Or even a debit card.
Oh yeah, they charge you £1 for using it.
That's naughty because it doesn't cost them anything to use a debit card.
Oh no, I know it doesn't. And it's them white cordless things that they can't retrack.
That all sounds a little bit dodgy, doesn't it?
Declare it as being taxed, you see.
Yeah, so they want the cash. They're trying to encourage and it's working, and it would for me as well. That big a difference
Well, it
to
just comes
pay with
back
cash.
on the bank account as cardless.
Yeah, that's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's because they want to save money and not pay tax. I mean, I don't blame some people the way that the world we are living in at the moment.
Well, the millionaires and the billionaires get away without paying tax, you know. So yeah, I kind of take your point. They can easily dodge tax. They don't have to pay it at all. But for the rest of us, we're kind of caught in that trap. I mean, it's never right to cheat the exchequer, but on the other hand, you kind of get it. But
I think most people, if they can get away with it, they'll do it.
And do you always carry cash or never carry cash?
No, I do now since my mum got poorly. I always have £10 or £20 note at the back of my phone.
Oh my God, that's so clever. Oh no, because if my phone got nicked, that was when I'd need it. I was just going to say that's genius. I can do that, but then the only time I would need it.
It's like a rubber, because I'm always dropping stuff and tripping up. And...
Oh yeah, I've got one of those on a cover on mine. That's why it's rubber.
Yeah, so it bounces rather than...
Yeah. But if I put the money there and my phone was nicked, I'd be so cross with myself, because then they've got the money as well as my phone. So I'm going to have to find another place to secrete it. But I think...
Just put £10 in it, Petrie.
Yeah. And then a tenner in my back pocket or something.
Well, yeah.
Because that is the thing. We're so reliant on this technology now that if one... You know, so like a stool, if one leg falls off, you're done, aren't you? It doesn't work anymore.
Well, it's something new every week with different stuff. I mean, I've had to go for an urgent brain scan.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Do you think they'll find anything?
No, they have found some. They have.
I mean your brain.
No, I went in feet first.
Oh, God. Your brains and your feet.
Yeah, so which way do I lie? So I'll put my feet in, and that's my brains.
I love that. Well, listen, Paula, you take care. I hope your brain scan goes well.
Oh, thanks, Petrie. Nice talking to you.
It's nice to talk to you. It always is. You take care, darling. Right, quick break. I'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there. Good morning to you. It's Petrie here, talking about cash and how important cash is to you. That's the question I'm asking, and how important is it to us as a society? And it's I don't carry it around very much, but I wouldn't want to lose it. I really wouldn't want to lose it. There's an aspect of it that does give you the privacy. You can just take the cash out and then spend the money on whatever you want, wherever you want, if they'll accept it, and nobody knows. Not that I'm doing anything nefarious, but you don't have to be aware that you don't want to be watched or tracked doing it, right? So I don't think we should lose it. I think that actually Paul on the voice note made a very good point that those people who have problems with numbers, it's so much easier for them not to have to deal with cash. But for the rest of us, I think that a mixture of the two things is a good idea. However, a lot of businesses now are refusing to accept cash, and government now is thinking of legislating to make sure that it would be illegal for them to refuse it. So I don't know if you think that is a good idea. This from Tony there says, I go to a lot of VW festivals in the summer and cash is always king if you're buying new camping gear as you get a heavy discount. Does that mean you've got one of those fabulous VW vans? They're gorgeous, aren't they? They're so nice. Those camper vans. They are. I'd love one of those. And they do brand new ones, don't they, now, in the same shape, but with a brand new engine and everything. But I don't think they've quite got the same sort of quality as the older ones. And it's like the VW Bug, isn't it? The old ones are just gorgeous. I think the Beetles, the new ones, yeah. And Gary said, yes, English notes are legal tender here up in Scotland. I don't know why I thought they weren't, but anyway, thank you. Right, let's talk to Kevin, who is in Hull. Hello, Kevin.
Good morning, Petra.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm lovely, thank you.
Good, I'm very pleased to hear it. Cash, do we need to look after it? Should we have it?
Well, there's two sides of the coin on this one. Sorry.
That's a very good fun.
Yeah, you got that one.
Yeah.
It's like hairdressers and local Chinese restaurants. They only accept cash.
Right.
Right. Okay, and there's some shops that have you scan your card to pay something, and it's a flimsy white thing. What I'm trying to say is, if a shop put their VAT number on the window, then you know they're legit. I mean, at the end of the day, cash is king.
Does it bother you if the company is not legit?
Yes, it would, because I pay tax, I do this, I do that. Yeah. It would bother me because, it bothered me because I'm jealous.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because we don't get away with it like the millionaires and the billionaires do, right?
Oh, my God, don't they? And they employ people for them to get away with it.
Yeah.
And they pay them lots of money to get away with mega money, you know.
Yeah. Exactly that. But the rest of us, obviously, we're not allowed to do that. We've got to fund the billionaires, keep them happy. But when would you use cash? Do you go out with cash?
Only when I get in the wife's money jar.
Does she notice that it's gone?
No, because it's for Christmas, so it might go down a bit.
And then you've got to fill it back up before Christmas.
I think, to be honest, during COVID, I have not carried cash.
Isn't that funny? A lot of people are saying since COVID. Why? What changed since COVID that we don't carry cash anymore? I suppose we were having to use cards, weren't we, because of germs and stuff.
The thing with COVID and the transmission, I mean, people in the banks in the old days, when they were...
when there were banks.
Yeah. And they put cash in or give cash out, they'd have to wash their hands because they got black. So
Filthy.
It's a transmission.
I can't imagine any reason I'd be putting cash into a bank. I don't think I've ever done that.
Well, I remember when I was very young, many years ago. Yeah. You went in with cash and put it in your account.
Crikey.
Yes, I'm
That's
older
just
than you.
bonkers. And are you old enough to remember going to a cash machine and getting £5 out? Or 10 quid? And that would do you for the evening.
£5 out since I joined the Halifax. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
That's fine. Yeah. No, you can mention. As long as you're not saying anything bad about companies, you can mention.
If you go to a bank ATM, you get a fiver. But I've never got £2.50.
No, I don't think they do that. But and what about hoarding cash in case there's a disaster in this country? Do you think that you would do that? Have enough cash, not just your wife's penny jar, but to have a couple of £100 spare to put it somewhere in your knicker drawer?
Well, my wife's knickers are a bit big, so they might fall down. But I would actually...
She's not listening to you.
No, she's on nights in a hospital. So...
Well, she might be listening.
Oh, Christ, she might be. I've got a call coming in.
Yeah, it's your wife asking for a divorce.
Yeah, I'm only joking. I would invest in cash. Yeah, cash under the mattress, good thing.
Yeah.
I've slept with many hairdressers that did the same thing. No, I'm only joking. I think it is... if you were hoarding, I'd go with gold, or I'd go with gems. Not diamonds, but like sapphires, emeralds, things like that. I think worldwide that can be traded.
Yeah, gold is always the safe place to go, isn't it?
It's the king of kings. Yeah,
it really is. But cash, I think from now on I'm going to make sure that I've always got at least a tenner on me, I think.
Well, can you borrow me one?
I haven't got any cash, mate, otherwise I would, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, so you can top up your wife's Christmas money tub. But yeah, I think cash is king and gold is the king of kings. And Kevin, you're just lovely. Thank you. Great to talk to you. Here we go. Let me just read out another message. Okay. Hi, Petrie. I don't carry any cash. I only carry cash if I need to use the jukebox in the pub. I lost my phone and bank card last year and had no cash on me to get home. Yeah, I see. Or any cash to buy a phone. So I was stuck that way and had to rely on my family until a new bank card arrived. My dad and Gran always say cash is king and I should always have some cash at home, but I never listen. Yeah, I think we should all be thinking about keeping a little bit of cash at home. And that's from Darren in Preston. Right, let's talk to Chris now, who's in Sunderland. Morning, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
You're talking about cash and people using cards and that.
Yeah.
Right. I'll go to the football matches, right?
Yeah.
There you have to use cards. If you want for your hot drinks or beer or food, you have to use a card.
And they don't accept cash.
You know, every certain clubs like Premier League down to Championship League to part-time leagues using cards.
Wow.
And I got like see bands in the local place and their card. You have to use your debit cards, Visa cards for your drinks.
Yeah.
They don't take money for your drinks or for you buying your tickets. Cardless, just card, no take, no money.
I mean, I can understand why they do that, right? Because they're not going to be robbed, are they? Then nobody's going to go and steal the cash. Even the people who are working behind the bar, they're not going to be sticking, tenors or £20 notes in their pockets. And I do believe that that's what happens. Theft and stuff like that. So they can't steal anything, right? So I suppose in that regard you can see it. But I still think you should be allowed to pay with cash. It is still legal tender.
Well, I still carry cash. If I go to the supermarket, and sometimes when you pay by card, their system's usually down, and you land up, what money you go in there, we're covering than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense to carry cash around just in case. But there's also an issue. I would suggest, Chris, that some people don't have a bank account, right? If you're really poor and you don't have a bank account, how are you supposed to pay for anything?
Well, if people's like if they're on the benefits, they're supposed to have a bank account to get the money put in there.
I suppose they have to now, yeah.
Yes.
But what if their bank won't issue them with a card?
So how are they going to get the benefits from?
I suppose they have to just
there's
pay
no
everything
gyros
online.
anymore. Gyros because you used to get a book with the gyros used to come through the post, or they used to give you a big book and they tell you the dates where you're entitled for your money.
Yeah, but there must be people who don't have bank accounts. But then everybody's paid into a bank account now. But I do know there are people who don't have bank accounts.
Everybody, even now, with wages, it goes in the bank, right? You never see your wage slip because they got rid of all the wage slips.
Do you remember the little brown envelopes you used to get with your money in it? Yeah.
And saying much
I'm old.
deduction.
Yeah.
I'm going back about 80s, 90s, or something like that.
Yeah, they were still giving out the little wage packets.
God. I think some company, even my local chippy, doesn't take cash, only take card payments.
Oh, mine is the other way around, which, like I said, has saved me piling on an enormous amount of weight because every time I go past, I think, oh, it smells lovely, I'll have some of that. And then I remember I haven't got any cash on me, so I can't.
No, it's just card payments, sorry. No cash. We just take card payments.
Yeah, it's such a shame. I think that everybody should have to accept cash. That's what I think. I think they absolutely should. Lovely to talk to you, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. Joe and Becky said, without cash, we wouldn't be able to get salt and pepper chicken from my local Chinese chippy. Please don't get rid of cash. I'm not going to get rid of cash, I promise you. I will keep cash. But if I had the power. Quick break, I'll be back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. It is Petrie here with you, and we're talking about cash. And it's being suggested that we hoard some cash now in case we go through similar to what's happened to Spain, Portugal and bits of France. And also it's been suggested that half of us have recently been somewhere that did not accept or discourage the use of cash, and MPs are now looking at legislating to make sure that businesses do always accept cash. And I get why they don't want to, because you've got to then gather up all the cash, you've got to be relying on people not nicking your money, and you've got to then take it to the bank, etc, etc, etc. But if you don't use cash, it just all goes through digitally, doesn't it? But for me, not carrying cash, what happens? I get to a trolley and then don't have a pound. But now I've written it on my hand, I can buy a £1 token and put it on my keyring, which I'm going to do. Ernie has said, "Hi Petrie, I was in the same position not so long ago when I didn't have a pound for the trolley, and customer service wouldn't take my card for cash back because it was only a pound. And a disabled woman who was at customer services says there's a row of disabled trolleys over there which don't need pounds, so I used one of them and it had wide wheels for a wheelchair to fit in between, and I felt terrible, but it was my only option." That's from Ernie. God, that's a good tip though. I'm going to remember that. And Steve says, "We use cash 80% of the time. Gross household income 85k. I have circa £600 in £1 and £2 coins. That's a lot. And circa £200 in 1p and 2p coins." You can't really spend those anymore. You know, shops don't have to take more than, I think, 25 pence in bronze coins, 1s and 2s. That's a lot. Big item buying on Amazon with a credit card. Main reason for using cash is to minimise digital footprint and tracking of spending habits and locations. Steve in Bromsgrove. I completely support that. I absolutely do. I'm going to start using cash. Damn it, I'm just going to do it. Sod it. We have to keep cash. What about pub sports and Sunday sports where you pay subs and fines, etc.? There is only one good thing that would come from banning cash, and that would be the vanishing of the corrupt travelling community. Okay. Gary again, "Evening. With regards to carrying cash and a hack for the shopping trolley, you can buy £1 coin trolley." How come I didn't know this? How did I not know this? I always carry some cash because it's unfair to many like the old for it to become a cashless society. And that's Gary in Glasgow. And that, you're absolutely right, because the old really, really do need it. So that's really interesting. How did I not know about this coin thing? I didn't know. Anyway, I do now. Marcus, who's also a new caller from Bedford. I know somebody who lives in Bedford. Hello, Marcus.
Oh, well, Universal Studios are coming here soon.
I know. How brilliant is that?
The ghost train's not going to work because the train drivers are on strike.
Oh, yeah, apart from that, it'll be fine. But that's really good news for Bedford, right?
Well, it's going to put my rent up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, of course it is. Anyway, how are you doing? Lovely to speak to you.
It's lovely to speak to you as well.
So let's get to the cashless society.
Yeah.
And I think you've done a very, very, very fair sort of look aboard, look across everything.
Thank you.
Now, there are certain issues which, convenience. So you go down to Poundland and you put your debit card in, and I'm trying to pay cash, and they're saying no, you've got to go here.
Oh, because they're self-service, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't pay cash for that.
Taking a picture of you as well.
Yeah, I see. I don't like all of that, and you're right. I hadn't even thought about the self-service tills now that everybody's forced to use. You can't pay with cash.
Well, I'm saying to them, I said, you're putting yourself out of a job.
Yeah. Well, that's why I try to always use, in fact I do, people, human beings, because of that.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that these self-service tills is putting people out of jobs, and I think that's really sad.
I realise that they're pointing you to it, and I was like, mate, you're kicking yourself out of a job here. I mean, this is just madness. This is.
It really, I agree, and I think that a lot of people now refuse to use them for that reason. But also, if you're going to force businesses, which I think we should, to take cash, those self-service tills are just not going to work.
Well, yeah, but then you've got the criminals coming in and all that kind of malarkey going on, and and then on the other side of it, it's when you walk outside a Poundland, you haven't got a quid in your pocket to give to a busker or someone's homeless or a veteran who absolutely a veteran, and I know so many veterans who need somewhere to live. You can't give them a quid.
Yeah. It is. We should all carry and use cash more. I think the problem is that, like you said, the convenience of not using cash has sort of swept us all along in this world where we don't really have to put our brains in gear. But it is a good thing to keep using it, because there are vulnerable people in society who need to be able to use cash. And if these businesses think they can just say, no, we're not going to accept cash, then it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Well, it's heartbreaking that, I feel terrible, but I don't actually have a pound in my pocket. And really, the banks have got all my money on a little bloody card.
Yeah.
And whenever it wants to play up, it does.
Yeah.
And we're so reliant on technology, and this will see what's happened. I used to live in Spain. I used to live in Ibiza. But if your card plays up, that's it. You're knackered.
Yeah, you are. Do you think that thinking about it, you'll start to keep a bit of cash around now?
I always keep cash
at home.
No. I'm one of those people. Cash is king. I think cash will be king. There is a saying in there. Cash is king. So always have some money in your pocket. We used to call it the emergency fiver. Now it's the emergency 200 quid.
Yeah. I do remember getting a tenner out of a cash machine for the whole evening.
And just put it by the side. Just like the emergency fiver or the emergency tenner.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. It has to be 200 quid, just in case.
Just in case you need to get a taxi anywhere. Yeah, no, it is. I'm actually doing this phone-in has really made me think about how vulnerable you are if you haven't got cash. Actually.
Well, no, you are vulnerable. No, that is exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. You are vulnerable because if you haven't got. I tried to get on the bus the other day, and I gave him a £20 note, and he said, "No, I haven't got any change." I'm like, "What?" I said, "But you're charging me £7 to get on the bloody bus."
Okay, where were you going?
Huh?
£7? Where were you?
That's a day ticket in Bedford.
£7 to go round Bedford?
Yeah, no, seriously.
It's only the size of a postage stamp. What are you talking about?
Well, it's ridiculous. So I give
That's outrageous.
No, that's under. It used to be £2 underneath the Conservatives, but now because they've got to pay everybody all the rates and stuff like that, I am looking at it, and I'm like, I swear, I'm not lying. You can Google it.
No, I know you're not lying because one of my team lives in Bedford, so I know you're not lying. But that's £7.
I know, it's ridiculous for a day ticket, a day pass. Yeah, but did you know in London it's £24 for the all zones? £24.
I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. And they don't take cash. London buses don't take cash.
Yeah. They don't take cash.
So if you've only got cash on you, forget it. You can't even get on a bus.
Do you want a bloody bank draft?
Yeah. I think you do now.
No, Google it. I'm not joking you. I'm serious. That is exactly how much it costs to travel in the UK.
Oh, it is shocking, isn't it?
Well, listen, I booked a flight and I'm going to Ibiza, and I'm going to. It cost me £22. It cost me more to get to the bloody airport.
That's when we know it's gone completely wrong, isn't it? That's when we know.
It's completely gone wrong.
Do you know what, Marcus? I think you're adorable. Can you call me again?
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, make sure you do. I would love that. Thank you. Marcus there in Bedford. I just wanted to say to Cindy in Michigan, we've been unable to call you back, but I just wanted to say a very, very happy birthday to you, and I hope that you've had or having a wonderful day. If it's today, right now today, have a lovely day, and I hope your lovely husband looks after you very well. Okay, so have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. Herbie, I don't have time. I don't think if I take... No, I'm not going to have time. Herbie, thank you for calling. I'll speak to you very soon. And Herbie in Harrow there. But I'm sorry, we've run out of time. I've just got time to read perhaps a couple of